South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Back goes McKee. He looks, he pumps, he fires. Complete. Touchdown, Elias Smith.
Right on the numbers. He's got an 8 and a 2 on his shirt. That ball is right between the 8 and the 2.
Told the guys, before the game, in these scenarios, you want to play a clean football game with your fundamentals. You want to play a clean football game with your assignments, right? Knowing what to do. You want to play a clean football game with situational football, which a couple of situations that popped up, we, really handled the 2-minute well at the end of the half. And then you just want to see the guys play with relentless effort, and I saw that. I saw that tonight.
The Philadelphia Eagles have officially not lost a game since December of 2024. I'm Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill on a happy hour Friday. 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle, streaming live on YouTube and X. As heard last night on 97.3 ESPN, the young boys showed out, Nick Earnshaw, as the Philadelphia Eagles won the first Eagles game of the 2025 football calendar year. How you doing on this happy hour Friday? Nick Earnshaw.
Josh Hennig, great to be with you today. Listen, Eagles football's back. I went out and got pizza, gotta go Birds, because I had my Eagles shirt on last night, sat in the man cave, had the green lure going underneath the TV. It was Eagles football. Eagles football's back, Josh Hennig.
As heard here on 97.3 ESPN, Anaya Smith, Johnny Wilson, Tanner McKee, Will Shipley, all had some really good games last night. We'll get into the highs and the lows of Eagles preseason game number 1. Plus, Phillies are in Texas this weekend for a 3-game series with the Rangers. They will be in Texas, Cincinnati, and Washington until August 18th. We'll explain to you why August 18th is an important date to keep an eye on. Plus, as always, you guys can join the conversation, 609-403-0973. Are you hyped after the game last night? Our poll question of the day at 973 ESPN on the X platform. You can also, guys, chime in on the text board. We want to know, who's going to be cornerback number 2? Seriously, because last night, you saw Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson both get cooked multiple times in the game last night. And don't tell me it's just Jamar Chase, because they both got shredded by multiple guys last night. And that is going to be our first reaction after every Eagles game is brought to you by First Bank at Seattle City, right here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig and Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. The first reaction brought to you by First Bank of Seattle City. Nick Earnshaw, I know everyone's excited about Tanner McKee, but he ain't starting week 1.
No.
I know people all love seeing Anaya Smith play. He ain't starting week 1. I know people love seeing Johnny Wilson play, Ty Robinson. None of those guys are starting week 1. Cornerback 2 is starting week 1. And what I saw from Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson last night was an absolute abomination. You cannot be Adoree Jackson, a former first-round pick, with an 8-year NFL veteran, and you get shredded by backup receivers in the NFL last night. Keely Ringo was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He was a top-tier corner for a national championship team at the University of Georgia. This is now the second straight year that he has an opportunity to be a starter, to be a relevant contributor outside of special teams. He got ripped. Not once, not twice, but 3 different occasions last night. And all I could think to say last night, Nick Earnshaw, was thank the Lord Howie Roseman traded for Jacorian Bennett this week, because that guy Bennett might be the only reason why we are not losing our minds on a Friday after the Eagles' first preseason game.
Yeah, last night was not a good showing for Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo. And, yeah, you can make the argument, okay, they're going up against Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, some of the starters to start the game, fine. But, I mean, Jackson also struggled against Charlie Jones, okay, and Jake Browning. So he allowed that 121-yard reception and completion. Ringo struggled as well. He struggled against Jamar Chase. But the problem is, I don't care if they're going up against starters. They're competing to become a starter. They're going to see good number 2s throughout the season, okay? This is going to be a tough schedule for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to see some top talent as the number 2 corner. I know Quinyon Mitchell's probably, they're looking to shadow him this year with a top receiver. That's fine, but they looked awful last night. They didn't do themselves any favors, and you see why. And I tweeted it out last night. As soon as that first drive happened, Josh, I was like, now we see why Howie Roseman went out, talked to Pete Carroll. Hey, you don't want that small corner? I'll take him off your hands, Jacorian Bennett. He's a solid player. He actually played well against Jamar Chase last year, the opposite of what Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson did yesterday, Josh Hennig.
You know, what's crazy is that Jacorian Bennett is an Eagle because of Jamar Chase. Bennett last year locked down Jamar Chase. So if I'm the Eagles, I'm kind of looking around like, well, we gave you guys a shot. If I am Vic Fangio, and Fangio does not speak till tomorrow, so I'm a little disappointed about that.
I know. I wish we would have heard him today. He probably would have wore a Phillies hat today too.
Probably would have wore a Phillies hat. Probably would have wore like the maroon P or something.
Yeah.
Big Phillies fan of Vic Fangio. But I would love to hear his analysis. Him just dropping F-bombs to guys in that film room.
That's a lot more work for us as we got to,
Listen, I'm willing to do that work because that's sometimes that's the best content.
True.
It's the coach ripping into the players, because you mentioned Jamar Chase. Kelee Ringo last night, he didn't get burned because it was Jamar Chase. He got burned because of bad fundamentals, bad footwork. First of all, the one first down, why are you backpedaling 15 yards off of Jamar Chase? You are long enough, strong enough, and fast enough to keep with him. The touchdown that Jamar Chase scored, Kelee Ringo, bad form tackling. Why are you running 100 miles an hour to tackle a guy?
Ran right by him.
Ran right past him. And then the other play, when he got shredded by the other, oh my goodness, who's the third receiver for the Bengals?
T. Higgins?
No, he's number 2.
Wow.
The guy with the weird last name, Iovinus or whatever.
Yes. Okay.
Like, literally.
You forgot T. Higgins played last night.
I did. Well, he didn't do much last night. That's why, which was fine. But the third receiver, he actually came in at one point and played the outside receiver across from Ringo. Ringo, it's a clear slant route, Nick. I mean, Dave Clement could run this route in his sleep. And this dude runs a slant, and what does Kelee Ringo do? Runs the wrong way. Like, what are we doing? And you mentioned Adoree Jackson. That dude got shredded by the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th receivers of the Bengals. And I'm just sitting there thinking, you're a 7-8 year veteran. What are we doing here, guys? Like, somewhere Vic Fangio had to be asking for, like, I don't know, something to keep him calm, because I feel like if I'm a coach last night, if I'm freaking out the way I was last night, I'm sure the coaches had to be just as frustrated.
Yeah, I would be. And listen, Fangio doesn't speak today. He's been critical of Adoree Jackson already here in camp so far. Like he's come out and said it during his press conferences. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'm with you. I wish he was speaking today. Maybe we'll get to hear a little bit of it tomorrow. But listen, Josh, it was not a great night for the second cornerback position. They obviously struggled, and you can't make the excuse that it was just because it was Joe Burrow and the starters. These guys are going to be the second cornerback on the team. listen, you don't have a Darius Slay this year. You don't have Isaiah Rodgers this year. They're not here this year. So one of those guys is going to have to step up, and it might not be either one of those two. It might be Jacorian Bennett. He might be the guy to go win that number 2 job, and if he outplays them throughout camp, gets in, and starts playing well, I swear, he is going to be the starter alongside Quinyon Mitchell. That's what's going to happen, Josh. That's what's going to happen.
Unless they trade for somebody else. And that's where our poll question at 973 comes in. Who will be cornerback number 2? Ringo, Jackson, Bennett, or not on the roster yet? And that's where I think this might be interesting. Because if they put Bennett in next Saturday afternoon when the Eagles play the Browns, you hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN, if Bennett goes out there and he struggles, how quickly is Howie on the phone calling somebody?
Again. You know, Pete Carroll doesn't like those small corners, so they were able to disregard Jacorian Bennett and send him to the Philadelphia Eagles, which was nice. But I think he could be the guy. I like him a lot. I know that a lot of Raiders fans were upset that they moved on from him, so we got to give him a shot first. But yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of concern. I'm a little concerned of that second cornerback spot. Quinyon's great. Cooper's going to be playing all over the place. But that second cornerback position, that is a dire kind of position right now because of Dory Jackson. I don't trust him. Ringo, he didn't look great last night. He was all over the place. He could help you out on special teams, but that is an open slot at the moment. And there was no clear winner last night. And, you know, I want to know what people are thinking out there because they got to be on yours and I side. We all watch the same game here. 609-403-0973 is the number, Josh. Who's going to be the starting corner? It's going to be Jackson, Ringo, Bennett, or are they not even on the roster? You might be right about that. That's a nice option you added on the poll there, Josh.
And the reason why I add it is because I know, as an Eagles fan, Howie Roseman's history. Ronald Darby, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Those are just 2 examples of Howie making a move before the season starts. You know, people forget Howie's big first move before season started was getting rid of Sam Bradford and installing Carson Wentz as the starter in 2016. Howie has a long history of making trades in August before a season starts. And last night, it's a shame because, yeah, Tanner McKee looked good. Yeah, Johnny Wilson and Naismith Smith looked very good. Yeah, Ty Robinson, Jahad Campbell, they both looked good last night. But they're not starting week 1, Nick.
Nope.
You can tell me all you want about the young boys playing well, but none of them are starting. We are talking about one of the 22. We are talking about one of the starters week 1 when you play the Dallas Cowboys on opening night when you raise that banner. It cannot be Keely Ringo or Adoree Jackson. It just can't. And the fact that Vic Fangio said this earlier this week, and then you saw what you saw last night, I think it adds more frustration to the state of this team because guess what? I'm not worried about the pass rush. Are you?
Not one bit.
Are you worried about the linebackers?
Not one bit.
Are you worried about the safety?
A little bit. Sidney
Fair.
Brown got a little hurt last, a little banged up, but I for the most part, I'm fine.
Right. So that goes at the cornerback number 2. This is what Fangio said before last night's game about the Jackson-Ringo cornerback 2 competition.
It's close. You know, I think both of them are having a good camp, but it's close. And been happy with both of them, and we'll see.
It's close. Well,
Close.
If it's close,
Oof.
it's time to move on.
Yeah. No one's really grabbed that job, and I'm glad you added the poll question. They might not be on the roster right now. There's a guy still out there who's been banged up in his career that I had brought up on Nuggets just a couple of weeks ago. Asante Samuel Jr. is still a free agent out there, Josh. He's still available. That's another guy. I'm just throwing the name out there into the mix because that could be a lot better than what we saw last night, adding him into the mix as well to create even more competition because it was not pretty watching Keely Ringo get burnt toast last night and Adoree Jackson just falling apart. I'm okay if they go out and sign someone off the street, they make another trade, whatever it may be. I think you need to add there maybe again. I want to give Jacorian Bennett a shot, but I think there's some names still out there on the free agent market, Asante Samuel Jr. being one of them, who's only 25 years of age. You might be able to get him on a little bit of the cheaper side now.
Listen, I totally hear you, and I'm not against bringing him in to see what he's got. My problem with Asante Samuel Jr. is I don't think his best position is outside corner. Like,
Play on the inside.
I think he's more of a slot corner. And so now you're adding another guy who you're asking him to do something that's not his best skill, right? You know, one of the reasons why you traded for Jacorian Bennett is because he is an outside corner. He is not anything else. Right now, you're trying to see if Mac McWilliams can play the slot. I think he profiles more as an outside corner. If you were to tell me that the plan for this year was to put Bennett on the outside, put DeJean at safety, and then bring in Asante Samuel Jr. to play the slot, I can work with that.
Okay.
But I don't think the Eagles are trying to get. I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles are trying to get Cooper out of the slot necessarily. I think a lot of this is them just experimenting with different scheme looks, different patterns. Because remember, offensively, did you notice who didn't get a single rep on offense last night?
Who was that, Josh?
Ben Van Sumeren.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
You have a guy who's still learning a new position. You don't play him at all. What does that tell you? I know it tells me. What does it tell you?
For me, I think it's that they don't want to show their hand on how they're going to utilize it.
Exactly.
That's why I think he didn't play.
So I do think there is a part of this where DeJean, Ben Van Sumeren, some of these guys, you're not going to see them in certain situations because they don't want to give away anything, which is fine. I'm not against that. But I do think it's a little interesting that they were willing to put those guys, Jackson and Ringo, out there. But they didn't see a ton of other starters last night, did you?
Nope. And by the way, Jahad Campbell didn't start the game. He was supposed to. The television broadcast said he was going to start. He wasn't out there to start the game either. He came in a little bit later. Did you notice that too?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Again, I'm not going to read too much into a preseason game outside of what we know for a fact. I'm not going to project, but I am concerned about cornerback too. 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw. That's our first reactions after every Eagles game on the Sports Bash is brought to you by First Bank of Sea Isle City. On the text board, Drew and EHT chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says Josh Dory Jackson has been pretty lousy for the bulk of his NFL career after a celebrated high school and college career. By the way, similar to Keely Ringo. Drew goes on to say, I never thought he was an answer as an outside starting corner. Ringo is way too handsy. Seems to ensure himself up to this point in his first few years. I hope, he puts exclamation in caps, hope, Jacorian pans out. My main thing is most NFL evaluators truly believe DeJean is an outside corner. After watching him every season at Iowa, he really does grade out best outside. Howie even said this before his rookie year. Well, let's slow down for a minute. You know, the DeJean thing, whether he profiles as an outside corner or not, that is not what they need him for. This offense or this defense functioned very well with him as a slot. When you watched him at Iowa, Drew and EHT, I will remind you, he was positionless. He was a joker. He played all over the field. Outside corner, slot, safety, whatever position you could think of that wasn't edge rusher. She played it at Iowa. So, you know, to say that he does or doesn't grade on the outside, I don't think that that's relevant at this point. What DeJean can do is not the issue. The Eagles have said multiple times, Fangio, Howie, Nick Sirianni, they are going to put the best players on the field. DeJean's on the field. It doesn't matter where he profiles best. The issue is, do you have someone to play the other position, Nick? That's the issue. You can tell me that DeJean can play safety, nickel, or outside corner, but then who you playing in the other spot?
Right, and they want to be creative with Cooper DeJean. They want him playing all over the place like you just mentioned. They want to use him in fun, different types of ways on the defensive side, right? Because he's so versatile, you can play him anywhere you want, and you want to put the best players on the field. Like you said, Nick Sirianni and Vic Fangio have talked about multiple times heading into this season. They're going to utilize him all over the place. And if you're able to utilize him more so in the slot, in safety, in those different nickel and dime packages, that is where you want DeJean to be. You want that cornerback slot on the outside to be locked down. Someone can just handle that so you can be as creative as you want with Cooper DeJean all over the field because you'll get the best out of him that way.
We'll get to more text a little bit later in the hour, 609-403-0970. Before we hit the break, Mike McGarry with the Press of Atlantic City will be joining us coming up on the show. And one of the reasons why we're talking about Mike McGarry is because I know the Phillies are playing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And a big story coming in this weekend, you guys talked about it down at Yuri's in Wildwood, you, Peachy, Kevin Durso, the pitching staff.
Yep.
Sanchez is going tonight. Luzardo tomorrow. Wheeler moved back 2 days to Sunday. And you just got to wonder, how important is this road trip going to be for the future of this rotation, Nick Earnshaw? Because Nola, he's got 2 more rehab starts coming up. David Robertson, people are projecting him to potentially be ready to go after this road trip. That August 18th is a checkpoint. After this road trip, there is a possibility that Nola, Dave Robertson, and some guy named Justin Crawford will all be on the field in uniform Monday, August 18th, Nick Earnshaw.
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive road trip. I mean, we're leading up to that August 15th date, right, with Justin Crawford and that whole thing, the whole scenario about bringing him up. And you bring back Aaron Nola. What's his velo going to look like down in his next couple of rehab starts? Where does David Robertson fit in? And also, you omitted one other arm. Jose Alvarado is going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks.
That's true as well. So that's 4 guys who could potentially be here on August 18th. That means you got to find 4 roster spots. How you find 4 roster spots, Nick Earnshaw?
I can name a couple that could go right away. Right away, that could go off this roster. And one's an outfielder. We'll talk about it on the other side. We'll talk about it with McGarry and how this all shakes out. But there's one guy that just can't be on my roster anymore with this baseball team. The local baseball team needs to move on from a certain left-handed bat, even though he had a good night the other night. I'm over it.
You're over that. I'm over the Eagles cornerback situation.
Well, that too.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig. We're filling in for Mike Gill here on a Friday edition. Happy Hour Friday of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Now, I can tell you, I can name what one listener is definitely drinking today.
Can you?
I can't speak for a lot of the rest of you.
Okay.
When you text in at 609-403-0973. You know, Jeff from Ocean City, Josh from Cape May. A lot of you guys, you send in some variety, different options. But one thing I know for sure, Nick Earnshaw, Jeff in Summers Point, he drinks Bud Lights and Fireballs.
Easy enough.
He's keeps it simple.
Very simple.
He's straightforward. I know he's got that on lockdown. But the rest of you, let us know throughout the show, what are you consuming this weekend? Plus, our poll question of the day, who will be the Eagles' other starting corner across from Quinyon Mitchell week 1? You can vote at 973 ESPN on the Twitter X platform. 609-403-0973 is the text board. We are streaming live on YouTube and X. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. He is coming up next, as well as Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad at 3 p.m. Football at 4. Adam Kaplan recaps preseason game number 1 with us at 4 p.m. We do have an edition of Knicks Nuggets coming up later in the show. And my guy Rob Murray from the Associated Press, NFL Insider for the AP, will join us. All that and more still to come. This is the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems, like snoring, aches and pains, hot sleep, or even an old saggy mattress that can keep you up at night. And our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now you can upgrade to a queen mattress and adjustable base for just $499.99. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
The seafood, extraordinary. The value, tremendous. The sunsets, on the house. It's Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant. Dine indoors, on the deck overlooking the bay, or watch the game at Sliders Bar with a new baseball-themed sliders menu. Enjoy delicious seafood, including Yuri's famous all-you-can-eat crabs, tropical summer cocktails, and daily specials. Yuri's has a kids menu and an arcade. And next to Yuri's is the Boathouse Restaurant. Two great ways to experience the Jersey Shore's best waterfront dining. Yuri's and the Boathouse at the foot of the bridge in Wildwood.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill along with Nick Earnshaw live at the 97.3 ESPN studios. We'll check back in on the text board in just a bit. Keep them coming in. I see them piling up at 609-403-0973. Happy Hour Friday. Eagles win a preseason game. But the Phillies are in Texas. And to get into the state of the Phillies as they go on this long road trip, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joins us on 97.3 ESPN. As the Phillies, we have some questions about the Phils. What is going on with this roster, with this pitching staff? AC Press McGarry is where you give Mike a follow on the Twitter X platform. He joins us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, welcome in. How you doing this Friday?
Doing well, Josh. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. So I wanted to start with you about, the pitching staff because, with Nola with 2 more rehab starts, David Robertson, Jose Alvarado, they're probably several days away from coming up. This staff is what it is for now. But part of that now, Mike, is Wheeler getting pushed back 2 days. What is your thoughts on the state of this pitching staff heading into this road trip?
Well, I think obviously the strength of this team is the starting pitching, and I think Sunday's start is going to be must-watch television for all Phillies fans because although Zach Wheeler, the Phillies say they're not worried, but, he did go for an MRI. The MRI came back clean, but there have been some warning signs since he threw the complete Game 1 hitter on July 6th that he has not been the Zach Wheeler that we are accustomed to seeing, and the Phillies really need if they're to make a deep playoff run. So I'm anxious to see exactly what Zach Wheeler looks like when he takes them out on Sunday in Texas. I think it might be, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it might be the most important start that a Phillies player makes so far this season.
Mike, we know a couple of years ago, Wheeler did have that elbow issue where he was shut down for a little bit, but then it was fine the rest of the postseason through the World Series run. Could it just be a scenario like that where maybe he just needs a little bit of extra rest in August?
Yeah, that's what you hope, right? And you're referring to 2022. He had that forearm or elbow issue in 2022.
Yep.
Took a couple of weeks off. Everybody was worried. He comes back and pitches great, pitches them, to within 2 wins of the World Series. So obviously everybody hopes this goes the way of 2022. But, Josh, there are some danger signs. I mean, he skips the All-Star game after that after the complete game. He starts. He's the last guy to start out of the All-Star game, and now he's being pushed back again. He's complained of a little fastball, a lack of fastball command. The velocity has been down a tick or two. So there are some warning signs out there, and he's still been good, right? In his last start, he struck out 10 guys, didn't walk anybody. He just hasn't been the Zach Wheeler that we saw in the first half of the season.
Hey, Mike, it's Nick. I want to move to the bullpen other than the starting pitching. Jose Alvarado was out in his first rehab start last night at AAA Lehigh Valley. Went an inning, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. Sitting around 97, 99 with the sinker. Just what do you think his role is when he comes back to this bullpen? And will the Phillies just try and utilize him as much as they possibly can to get the most out of him because he's not going to be in the postseason?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if he pitches the way he pitched last night, which is that good velocity, if there's a pocket of left-handed hitters in the 7th or 8th innings, obviously the 9th inning now belongs to Duran, but if there's a pocket of dangerous left-handed hitters in the 7th, in the 7th or 8th innings, to me, Alvarado is your guy if he pitches like he did early in the season and if he pitches like he did last night. And I hear a lot of people saying, well, why are they going to pitch Jose Alvarado in high leverage spots? Don't they want to pitch a guy there who's going to pitch in the postseason so he can get used to pitching under pressure? Well, you have to get to the postseason first. And the way to get there is obviously winning games in the regular season. And Jose Alvarado is a guy who can do that. So I expect him to be now when he first, I believe he's able to come back on August 19th. I don't think they're going to throw him in the fire right away, but I think you give him an outing or two, and then boom, he's a guy. I mean, right now you look at the Phillies bullpen. They go to Dodger Stadium for 3 games in September. If Ohtani and Freeman are coming to the plate, to me, you go get Jose Alvarado to face those guys. They have a lot of games with the Mets coming up. If Juan Soto's coming to the plate, you get Alvarado to face that guy. So I think Alvarado could play a big role down the stretch, especially if he pitches the way he did last night.
Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City joining us here. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, you mentioned Alvarado. Well, it's Alvarado, it's Dave Robertson, it's Aaron Nola. At some point, all 3 of them are going to be up here. So who on the pitching staff won't be here, you think, by the end of the month?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, they got the Rangel guy. He's a guy that's going to go down. Taijuan Walker probably shifts to the bullpen. I guess the real question would be, what do you do with Jordan Romano and Max Lazar? Max Lazar has pitched better than Jordan Romano, but what you might see them do to preserve their depth is send Lazar down and keep Romano in on the big league roster. So it's a nice problem to have if you're wondering, who gets to stay in the big leagues and who has to go to the minors. But that's what I would kind of suspect happening. I would suspect they'd send Lazar down to preserve the depth. They can always bring him back if necessary. And Taijuan Walker kind of shifts to the bullpen there. So that's the kind of moves that I would expect them to see, in the next week or so when all these guys are eligible to come back.
Mike, Aaron Nola, he's another guy that's going to be coming up, from his rehab starts after, all the injury issues that he has had. For him, does it seem like he's going to be a guy that's going to make postseason starts? I know we're starting to have that conversation, what the rotation is going to look like in the postseason. What do you make of Aaron Nola's role as he comes back to this roster?
Well, I think he's part of, to me, it's almost an open competition for who's going to be that number 3, number 4 starter. I think we can all agree, if healthy, Zach Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez are going to be your 1-2 guys or your 1 and 1A guys. The question is, who is the number 3 guy? Is it going to be Suarez? Well, he's had a 5 ERA since the All-Star break. If Aaron Nola comes back, I think people have kind of forgotten a little bit how good a pitcher Aaron Nola is, how dependable a pitcher is, how well he has pitched for the Phillies in the past. It's almost like, he struggled the start of this season terribly, and now he's been out of sight, out of mind. If he comes back and pitches well, he could claim that number 3 spot. But I think it's going to be an open competition to see who's going to be that number 3 starter. And I think if Nola pitches well, he might be that guy, that number 3, number 4 starter in the playoffs, because I just don't see him being an effective guy out of the bullpen, warming up in a hurry. He's been a starter his whole life. He's battled some injuries this season. So, I would expect him to be a part of that rotation, in the number 3 or number 4 slot if he comes back and pitches healthy and pitches well.
Mike, I put the scenario out there yesterday here on 97.3 ESPN about the idea that we know that in the past, some of these guys are having trouble getting through a lineup the 3rd time, right? Luzardo, Aaron Nola at certain times. Is there maybe a scenario where the idea is, if you're like in the NLCS, right, and you say, hey, Aaron Nola's my game 3 starter, Luzardo's number 4, but you ahead of time tell those guys, hey, you're only going X number of innings, Ranger, be ready to, basically be the second half of the start.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that going on. That's a kind of a piggyback scenario right there. I heard one person say you could even, Andrew Painter's another name that comes up. He could pitch as an opener, and then you could bring in a guy behind him. So, Yeah, I think in the playoffs, if you're not Wheeler or Sanchez, if you're a guy like Luzardo, Suarez, or Nola, it's going to be a pretty short leash. And if you get into trouble, you're going to be out of the game in a hurry because they have the depth behind them to go deeper in the game. So, yeah, I would expect, Rob Thompson, again, not with Wheeler or Sanchez, but if, one of the other guys, Luzardo, Suarez, or Nola, get in trouble, I think you're going to see quick hooks there. Think of Ranger Suarez. He's given up 2 3-run home runs the past 2 starts. Those lose you games in the playoffs. You can't sit around and wait for that to happen. If he gets in trouble, he's probably going to come out of the game in a hurry.
Mike, you invoked Andrew Painter. Is there a possibility that we may not even see Andrew Painter come up by the end of this season?
Yeah, I think it's a very real possibility. I think it's a real possibility for him and both Crawford. I know the fans are kind of clamoring for it, but I don't see a spot right now for them on the roster, basically. And if there's not an opening, I don't think they're going to force their way into playing them. And I personally think it's asking a lot. Like, they're in a pennant race right now. They've got to win this division. I think to win the World Series, they've got to be a team that gets a bye, so it allows them to set up their starting pitching. They don't have to waste Wheeler and Sanchez in a wild card series. They can go right to the division series. So, you're asking a lot of rookies to go in there in a key spot, and there's just not a spot on the roster for these guys right now. And I don't think it's the worst thing if they actually spend a full year of AAA baseball.
He's Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City at AC Press McGarry on Twitter X platforms, where you give him a follow. He joins us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, we hope you enjoy your weekend. We will talk to you again on Monday.
Yeah, should be great. Big series for the Phillies. I think this 10-game series is going to tell a lot about how the rest of the season unfolds. So it'll be interesting to see when the Phillies come back from this road trip, where exactly they are in the division, how big a lead they have, and everything else. I think this is a big 10 games for the Phillies. So great talk with you guys, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks.
Absolutely. And Mike will be back on Monday to recap it all here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, I will let you know, we have already had a check-in for Happy Hour Friday.
Already? 2 o'clock hour.
Jeff from Summers Point. He confirms I'll be cracking open the Bud Light and the Fireballs after I get off at 4 p.m. TGIF. Jeff from Summers Point.
That's beautiful. That's like music to my ears, because just hearing someone else waiting to get off at 4 o'clock, we don't get off until 6 o'clock today, Josh. So getting off at 4, going to have his Bud Light and his Fireball, just sitting down, relaxing. Good for you, Jeff in Summers Point.
I'm sure Jeff will be listening to us here on 97.3 ESPN or checking out the stream on YouTube and X. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank, Sea Isle City. Back to the text board. Coming up next, also still to come, Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad. More Phillies talk still to come. Phillies, Eagles, Happy Hour Friday. We got you covered. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. And that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ziprecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Contact Tax Relief Helpers for details and restrictions.
Attention, anyone that owes money to the IRS. Every day, your unpaid tax debt gets bigger and bigger from daily interest. The longer you wait, the more you will end up paying. If you owe $10,000 or more, now is the time to settle your debt before the IRS takes aggressive action, like taking your wages or property. A special toll-free number has been established so you can stop penalty fees, avoid liens, levies, or other hostile measures by the IRS. Call Tax Relief Helpers right now.
I got behind on my taxes and owed $48,000. I called and they got my bill lowered to just $3,500.
I owed $87,000 in taxes, and it was scary. I got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
If you owe money to the IRS, don't wait another day. Your tax debt gets bigger and bigger from daily interest. Call right now before the IRS enforces liens, levies, or other aggressive measures. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call now.
Call 800-972-4215. 800-972-4215. That's 800-972-4215.
Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN, filling in Sports Bash. Happy Hour Friday. Got a lot of text to get to. Of course, you can listen to the show, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. And we are live on YouTube and X. Let's knock out some of these texts. People are chiming in all kinds of topics here. Nuggets. Josh from Cape May. I say his name and he immediately just shows up. It's like I coaxed him into existence.
You did.
He said he's drinking a cane wax comb. He says he got it from the liquor store in Cape May.
Wow.
It's a super, super good hazy IPA, 4.08 on Untapped.
How about that?
Sounds like a
It's
solid
a good
move.
score. I mean, it's a really good score.
Anything 4 and above is usually a surefire good deal.
Slam dunk.
I know what a slam dunk is, by the way.
Yeah.
I still don't understand what tough means, but
I'll talk to you about it after the Josh, Nick, and Bob Friday baseball chat.
Robbie in Little Egg Harbor chimes in at 609-403-0973. Said the Eagles quarterbacks want to be on the team or even start, they have to play a lot better. Last night, Howie Roseman is going to look elsewhere. Robbie's 100% right. These guys got to play way better. Because that's the thing. Some of these guys might not make the team, Nick.
Yeah. They're fighting for jobs. And, there were some really good things we saw last night. Don't get it twisted. But the one we're watching, the competition we're watching the most is that cornerback 2 position. And they were awful. Awful last night.
Trash. Just straight trash.
That wasn't tough.
No, that was
They were not tough.
No, they were not tough. And I mean tough in the actual original definition of it.
Well, both. Tuff and Tough.
Exactly. Steve from Ventnor chimes in. He has the answer to all of our problem with the Phillies. He says, when the Phillies return for that August 18th, Josh, they will add Nola Alvarado, Dave Robertson, and Justin Crawford. To make room, they will option Weston Wilson, Alan Angle, Max Lazar, and then they'll DFA Joe Ross. That's interesting because I would have thought you would be DFAing Kepler.
I would love to DFA Kepler. Love it. I mean, Joe Ross didn't add much to this season anyway either. He was another bust of a free agent signing by Dave Dombrowski. So, either or. I wouldn't mind if Max Kepler was a nice left-handed piece coming off the bench. He just should not be platooning. He should not be in the lineup. That is the issue I have. I know he had the great game the other night. I don't care. It's over. We got into it on Wednesday. We'll continue to talk about it throughout today's show too. But I think you DFA Kepler. Honestly, it'd be nice, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they spent $10 million. They spent $10 million on him.
I just want to know what this blackmail he has on them. Like I want a 30 for 30 documentary done on why Max Kepler was a Philly.
This is the same guy that complained that he wasn't starting every day.
Exactly.
He doesn't even deserve the platoon.
It's ridiculous. Brandon chimes in on text board at 609-403-0973. Says the Phillies need to run Alvarado into the ground, save some of the other arms so they are fresh for the postseason. Brandon, I think that is exactly what's going to happen.
I think Brandon's dead on. I think that's what the Phillies should do. Run him into the ground. Utilize him as much as possible. He can't pitch in the postseason, so help yourself out early on to clinch a playoff spot as quick as you possibly can. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll happen because the Mets are, they're close. But use him as much as possible to get those wins and get yourself into the postseason and have those arms fresh for playoff baseball.
Shaner, who is bar crawling in Summers Point, chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, today is my only day off in 3 months, which means Happy Hour Friday started at noon. He said he's been enjoying various cold draft beers. He asks, do you guys like the new trend of these teams going a little old school, playing a few starters in the preseason? Shaner says, I do.
I'm a little jealous that Shaner's on a bar crawl right now, so good for you, Shaner. You deserve it. I'm cool with it. Yeah, I don't mind the starters playing a little bit in the preseason. And here's why. How many years in a row have we talked about the sluggish starts of all of the NFL teams to start the year? It's like week 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. It's just bad football. And then it gets better as the season rolls along. But the slow starts because of the lack of play in the preseason. So I don't hate it. I understand the whole injury thing. I don't hate some of those guys playing, Josh.
I also understand that a lot of these coaches very much value the intra-squad practices.
True,
and,
yes.
We talked to Tony Banks, the Super Bowl champion quarterback, yesterday on 97.3 ESPN, and he talked about, listen, these coaches, they feel they have more control over the inner squad, so it's a lot easier to prevent injuries. So I get it. I understand it, but I'm with you guys. I want to see some real players in the preseason.
Yep, I'm the same way.
Listen, at some point, you just got to accept that injuries happen anywhere in life. I mean, look at all the guys who've already been injured in practice this year. We're talking about practice.
Practice. Can't change it, man. Players get hurt. I mean, it's just part of the game. It's part of it.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig. We're filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, back to the baseball talk. Bob Wankel joins us for a Happy Hour Friday on the Sports Bash.
Hi, this is Billy Schwein. Saturday morning, join me, Nick Earnshaw, and former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Dave Clement as we broadcast live from the beach in Wildwood at the Beach Football League tryouts. Two-time Super Bowl champion Tully Banta Kane will drop by to talk about the BFL. We will recap the Eagles' Thursday night action and the Phillies in Texas. Plus, it's the Beach Patrol Report, brought to you by McCann Realtors and the OCBP Lifeguard Alumni Association. We will hear from the former chief of the Longport Beach Patrol, Dan Adams. It's The Locker Room with Billy Schwein, live from the beach at Wildwood, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Recovering from an addiction is an individual accomplishment. A young mother who chose recovery to care for her family. A high school athlete over
home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him, it's a sack!
Sixers.
Oh, baby!
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Three o'clock hour, the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys is your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleys.net. Phillies begin a 10-game road trip this weekend. They are starting in Texas, but we got some questions about that road trip. So Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad, he is joining us to get more into it here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And we are streaming live on YouTube and X. Bob Wankel joins us now to talk more about the Phillies as we head into a weekend. It's not a Mike and Bob Friday, Bob. It's just Josh and Nick and Bob. We sound more like a really bad cover band. How's it going?
What's going on, guys? Mike's off again, huh? Must be nice.
He's a world traveler now, Bob. That's what he is. We talked about it the other day. He's in a different country every week now, it feels like.
Yeah, every time I'm on Instagram or Untapped, the beer app, I always see him checking in somewhere else. The guy is a world traveler. It's good to be Mike Gill, I'll say that much.
Yeah, exactly. So, Bob, let's get into the Phillies because the Phillies are traveling as well, but in a different way, starting a series in Texas. We haven't talked to you since the news came out about Zach Wheeler and his shoulder is fine according to the MRI, but he needs a couple extra days off. And my mind immediately went to a couple of years ago, Bob, it was 2022 when he had the elbow issue, right? The soreness, but then he was fine for the postseason. Should we look at this in a similar vein, or do you have some legitimate concerns about Wheeler?
Yeah, look, I mean, anytime you have a pitcher in his mid-30s that has the mileage that Zach Wheeler has on that right arm, I think there has to be at least some degree of concern. I don't want to overreact to this, but when a team comes out and says, hey, we're going to bump a guy a couple days because we don't like what's going on right now, he's reporting a little bit of soreness, I think it gives you some pause, especially when you consider how important he is to the overall operation. And I think that the next few hours here are going to be really important for the Phillies because I think we're going to get an idea of whether or not he's actually going to make this start on Sunday or if they're going to bump him further out. Maybe does he go on the IL? Do we see that they delay him another 5 to 7 days where it's not an IL stint, but it's just further precaution? And we've seen that happen before. We've seen that happen with the Phillies before. So I'm very curious to see if he pitches on schedule this weekend.
You mentioned about him pitching on schedule. He's currently scheduled to start on Sunday, is Zach Wheeler. Even if he does start on schedule, Bob, is there a scenario where they might, hold him back a little bit, keep that pitch count maybe a little lower for the next couple of weeks? Because, we talked about this before you came on, Bob. In a few weeks, you're going to have an influx of guys coming up here. Basically, by the time this road trip is done, it's going to be Alvarado and David Robertson and Aaron Nola are all going to be flooding into this team. So there's going to be some fresh new arms coming along in a couple weeks.
Yeah, look, I mean, if your goal is to win the World Series, I think you want to use an abundance of caution in this scenario. And if putting him on the shelf for 2 to 3 weeks and really making sure that this thing is 100% moving forward is going to allow you the best opportunity for him to perform at a high level in October, then I think you do it. Of course, there's obviously the Cy Young consideration and the Cy Young component of this. This is an award that has eluded this pitcher over the last number of years, I think in some cases unfairly so. And if he were to miss an extended amount of time, given where things are at and the way that Paul Skeens continues to pitch, it basically closes the door on the Cy Young. Now, as a fan, we can sit here and say, well, obviously the championship part of this is the most important thing, and that's what they should all be, dialed into. But I think that Zach probably wants that award. And if he feels like I can pitch through this, my guess is he has enough clout, given his production and his status within that clubhouse, that he can kind of push it and get the opportunity to go for it. And I think that to some extent is what happened last week when he pitched. I think that Tariq Skubal outpitched him in that game, and I think that Zach Wheeler very much wanted to log his 7th inning and say, hey, I went 7. I only gave up a couple runs. I was really sharp. And instead, he goes back out in the 7th and things blow up. And it's just a matter of, will the Phillies, if that decision has to be made, will Zach Wheeler lobby to try to pitch through it, or will the Phillies shut it down, which they have the ability to do?
Bob, from Wheeler to Ranger Suarez, he has struggled since the All-Star break. His ERA has jumped. He just has not looked like the same pitcher. If you're the Phillies and you're looking at Ranger Suarez, is it a combination of, maybe he's just getting tired and worn out? Like, is that part of it? Last year was an injury. This year, could that be part of it? And with that, would he be kind of bumped from the rotation, and would he be that ideal guy to come out of the bullpen in October?
That's a great question. And if we were just looking at this as a 1-year sample, I think a lot of people would say, look, it's just a bad stretch. Let's not get crazy. Let's not overreact to this. But because we saw, and yes, an injury was at play last year, but because we saw these second half struggles a year ago where he was never quite the same guy as he was in April, May, and the first part of June in 24, I think that there's a little bit more pause. Like, we've seen this show before. How concerned should they be? I believe in a short series, and I don't know if this is going out on a limb. I don't know if people think I'm nuts, or if maybe this is the obvious statement at this point. I truly believe that in the postseason, the Phillies are going to go with Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, and Aaron Nola, 1, 2, 3. I know that Nola has not been good this season. I know he's missed a ton of time. I still think that when you consider the experience factor, you consider what he's meant to this team, you consider the salary, I still think he comes back. I actually expect him to be pretty effective when he comes back. And if he's reasonably effective, I think he's starting that 3rd game. So to your question, could Ranger Suarez find himself in the bullpen? Yes. The thing I hate about Ranger Suarez out of the bullpen, though he can handle the moment, and we know that he can do this and we've seen it, he is not a high velocity guy. And it is hard sometimes. You want a guy that can consistently miss bats. And even if his location, and even if he doesn't have his A game, he can still get outs. And I think with Ranger Suarez lately, it feels like if he's not totally dialed in and he doesn't have 3 or 4 pitches working for him simultaneously, it's like it just doesn't evoke a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and in his last couple starts, he's been fine like the first and second time through the lineup, so that gives me confidence to have him come out of the bullpen, which would make a lot of sense. You also mentioned his velocity. Another guy that's going to come up as well that they signed is David Robertson. How does David Robertson fit into this mix, in this mold of the bullpen? Because you also have Alvarado coming back, who you're going to use throughout the end of the season until the postseason.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they play it. My expectation, let's tackle the Alvarado part of this first. I think that they're going to use Jose Alvarado in the 7th and 8th innings in the most critical situations, and I think they're going to go right back to him, maybe one start, get his feet wet, and I think it's going to be high leverage Jose Alvarado when they face those pockets of the lineup that Rob always likes to talk about. I know they don't have him for October. I know there's this idea that, well, if you're not going to have him in October, why would you slot him into those situations now? You want to be able to plan for that. Just don't think that that's how it works. I think if you have a guy and he's your best option available, you use that guy. As far as David Robertson goes, he's had some hiccups here as he's kind of ramped things up a little bit. He was better the other night. I kind of expect to see him pitch meaningful outs late in games and high leverage spots as well. I think Duran is the 9th. I believe we have finally cleared that conversation. You have him. He's your 9th inning guy. It does not matter who he's facing, what part of the lineup. He's your 9th inning guy. But all of these other guys, the Robertsons and Alvarados and Stroms and maybe even the Romanos of the world, certainly Kirkring, all of these guys, I think it's going to be matchup, 6th, 7th, 8th, pocket, try to play them against the right parts of the opposing lineup.
We're talking with Bob Wankel. Of course, he's the co-host of the Fighting Words of Phillies podcast. Like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. He's joining us here on a Friday edition of the Sports Bash. Nick Earnshaw and Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Bob, you mentioned the Ranger Suarez part of this conversation. I kind of wanted to backtrack to that because I had mentioned yesterday the idea, Bob, that, what if you go into the postseason and we know Wheeler, we know Sanchez, they are what they are, right? But how many times over the years have we seen Aaron Nola, the 3rd time through a lineup? He struggles, right? This year, how many times Luzardo can't get through the 3rd time through a lineup? What if the plan in the postseason is, hey, Aaron, Luzardo, you guys only go 4 innings. Just give us what you got for 4 innings. We're going to go to Ranger to cap off the rest of the way. Like, could that be the scenario to maybe keep everybody happy, but also maximize who they are? Because at the end of the day, Rob, I'm thoroughly convinced that the Luzardo issue is not a stretch issue. I know people keep bringing it up, but to me, you look at his numbers, he can pitch in the stretch. It's with that third time through the lineup, he gets absolutely wrecked.
Yeah, I think you have to be cognizant of that going in. And it's one thing that's really interesting about the dynamics of this pitching staff. It's like, we said all along, there's a surplus of starting pitching, and does that surplus kind of turn into the way to patch up these holes in the bullpen? But what's really interesting about it is that you have guys that can go multiple innings. So if it is Ranger Suarez, if it is Jesus Luzardo, you can be kind of quick here. You don't have to ride a guy out and say, I need to get 6 out of him tonight. I need him to get to through that order a third time. Like you can probably be a little bit more aggressive with how you play it. It's really interesting. Like we've sat here for 3 months and we've talked about, wow, the starting pitching is great. The bullpen stinks. This lineup is really inconsistent. They don't slug enough. And then since the All-Star break, and this is why some of these conversations, you have to react to what's in front of you, but it's funny because here we are now, and they have the most home runs in the National League since the All-Star break. The bullpen has added some interesting parts where you start to feel a little bit better about it. And it's the starting pitching that has all the question marks in it right now. Or like outside of Christopher Sanchez, who you see tonight, all of these guys have huge question marks. What is Zach Wheeler's short-term prognosis? Is he going to be healthy? What do you get from Aaron Nola when he comes back? Can Jesus Luzardo go 2 or 3 consecutive starts and actually look like the guy that he can be and that we've seen? Ranger Suarez, what is he at this point? It's kind of crazy how we're creeping up into August and they are starting to build a division lead, and that's great. There's a lot of question marks around this pitching staff at the moment.
I think one of those question marks also has to be the guy that people were like dreading at the beginning of the year has now become like the whatever guy, which is Taijuan Walker, right? It's the ultimate. What do we do with Taijuan at this point? Like he's been serviceable, right? Like he's not been like amazing, but he's going out there and giving you some effective starts. And it's getting to the point now where we know when Aaron Nola comes back, Walker's going to the bullpen, Rob. But, what is Walker's role going to be? Is he going to be an extension of maybe some of these starters?
Yeah. Look, credit to Taijuan Walker. And I'll be the first to admit when I am just dead wrong about something. But if you showed me his numbers and you said, this is what it will be on August 8th, I can't even tell you. I can't say on this show what I would there's no way. Look, it's been a pleasant surprise. He's done a great job. It has not been pretty at times. Even go back to that White Sox start that he made. He did his job through 5 innings, but it was a hold your breath type of situation.
Right.
But credit to him, man. You talk to people in that clubhouse and they all say that he's a pro's pro. He's a good guy. He's a good teammate. He's easy to root for. And he just kept working, and he's put together a pretty respectable season after a couple of disasters, really back to back. So what is his role? All of that being said, I just don't think you see him take down important innings in October. Like if we're talking about the playoffs, I don't see it. If you're, maybe he's on the roster this time around, but unless it's, hey, we have a 7-2 lead, let's see if we can get him through an inning, or if we're, God forbid, losing by 4 or 5 runs and a starter gets knocked out early and we don't want to burn through our bullpen arms. Maybe Taijuan can get us through, 3 innings. Maybe you keep him rostered for that situation if the way that your staff works out. You might consider that, but I just don't see high leverage Taijuan Walker again in the future. And I think when Aaron Nola comes back, we don't see him in the rotation, assuming that everybody else stays healthy, which at this point, we don't know that.
All right, Bob, let's go to the outfield and figure out this platoon puzzle a little bit. August 15th. Is the day where Crawford, they would most likely bring him up after that because of the service time issue, etc. What does the best outfield for the Philadelphia Phillies look like? Is it Bader in center, Platoon Marsh in left, and Otto Kempt in left? What does it look like from your perspective? What is the best lineup to go out there at this point?
I think that Harrison Bader right now deserves the opportunity to show that he shouldn't play every day. I think when you consider the entire package, he's actually hit righties a little bit this season. They got him because he can hit lefties. He's a very good defensive center fielder. I just think at some point they do a lot of platoons and they've had some success with it, but you brought this guy in, let him show you that he can't do it. And that's my answer in center for right now. As far as left field goes, I think it's Marsh and I think it's Kemp. I don't want to see Marsh hit against left-handed pitching. I don't think he can do it. I know he's shown periodic flashes of it, but overall the sample is large enough that I think we all know what his vulnerabilities are there. But to me, he should be playing over a guy like Max Kepler. The Crawford part of it is what's interesting, right? Because here's a guy that has done everything that you could possibly ask him to do from a production standpoint offensively in minor league level, except for hit the ball in the air more or beat outfielders over their heads in the air. He's not going to do that. It's just not his game. Do you want to bring up this young kid in this situation where every single at-bat's going to be scrutinized? And you say, well, it can't be any worse than what they've gotten. But I don't know that that's true. I mean, one of the things that the Phillies really do need, and like I'm with anybody. If you guys were talking about how Max Kepler should not be here and it defies logic, I agree with that. I mean, I've been saying that for weeks myself. I'm part of that herd mentality on Max Kepler. I know he had a nice game the other night, but
Who cares?
How many nice games has he not had over the last couple of months?
Bob, I said it before. He's Ricky Leday. He gives you flashes and moments of like, oh, look, there he is. But then the rest of the year, it's like, there he is.
But the issue becomes, bringing up Crawford is not going to help you in terms of your ability to slug.
Right.
And so if you're like, hey, we're down late, if you're talking about constructing a postseason roster and you're like, we need a guy from the left side that we can go to as a matchup late who has the possibility of hitting a home run. That's the case for him. And you don't have to play him that much. You can bury him behind a Kemp Marsh platoon. You just stash him away essentially for that scenario. We need thump late in the game. We're chasing runs. And this is the guy that gives us the best opportunity to do it. Is it ideal? Certainly not. Does he really deserve to be here at this point? No. But if you're all about October, which is what we all talk about, like that's the case for him.
Bob Weichel joining us here. Of course, don't forget the Fightin' Words podcast. Of course, he's the co-host of that. A couple more before we let you go, Bob. You mentioned Max Kepler. I got to ask you. Scenario that he is able to maintain this roster spot, and yet it's just like, well, what's going on here? Like, how does this guy maintain a roster spot? And it's like everyone except for the Phillies say he shouldn't. Like, remember the question that was asked to Rob Thompson, what was it, last Friday? Where I couldn't see who asked it, but whoever asked it did a good job of framing it. They were like, Rob, he is not liked. He is not popular. And Thompson just whistled and waved the question. He's like, well, it makes a lot of hard contact. Like, it's like the Phillies are ignoring the fact that nobody wants the house guest except for them in the house.
He made a promise, Josh. That's what he did.
That I thought, look, some of Rob's answers in time, you kind of go, I don't really get where he's coming from. This whole, like, I promised these guys 6 games to further evaluate this. That he gave that quote last Friday. It was August 1st. You haven't seen enough over 4 months to make that evaluation. You need 6 more games to make sure you know for sure. It was very, very puzzling. Very puzzling.
I just don't get it. Like, I mean, Nick and I were talking the other day, Rob. Like, you can name Phillies outfielders from past years that you would rather have. Like, where's Greg Jeffries? Where's Pat Burrell? Like, the Phillies have had some guys who are way better than Max Kepler. During some of the worst years of this franchise. Like, where's Marlon Byrd? You know what I mean? Like, there are guys who have played for this franchise, Bob, and it's like, but in 2025, we're stuck with the Max Kepler phenomenon.
Yeah, and I'd like to tell you that I think that you're not going to be stuck with the Max Kepler phenomenon for much longer, but he is still here, and he continues to be here, and I would have told you a month ago you might not be stuck with it much longer, so.
All right, going from left-handed kind of power to another guy who actually has power is Kyle Schwarber, Bob.
Yeah.
The guy, he's entered the MVP conversation. It is for real now. He's going to make a ton of money in the offseason. Is it a viable opinion to say there's a very, very, very good shot he could leave in the offseason?
Well, I saw that there was a Buster Olney report this week, and it was sort of a throwaway line almost, but the gist of it was that some people within the industry that know Kyle Schwarber wondered aloud if he might want to return to his, I believe, Midwestern roots, it was described as. And look, he went to Indiana. I believe he grew up a Reds fan, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yep.
Look, when you make that much money and you achieve that type of wealth, you have the right to go where you want to go. And it seems like it would be impossible for him to want to leave a place where the fans are so into it and packing the ballpark 40,000 fans per night in August. And how do you walk away from all of that? But if he wants to be closer to family, if he has friends in that area of the country and that's just where he wants to be, then maybe it would. But when you look at it from the Phillies' perspective, he means so much. Not just in terms of the production, but in terms of what he means to the clubhouse. How do you let this guy go? If you're like a serious organization trying to chase championships and Zach Wheeler's clock is ticking, Bryce Harper's prime is ticking, how does Kyle Schwarber and his 55 home runs this year walk out the door this offseason? It feels like it's hard to believe that that's a possibility, but they haven't gotten it done. It's going to go into the winter and strange things can happen. So, yeah, like to answer your question, I think it's very possible.
Check out the Fighting Words podcast. Bob Wankel is the co-host. He joins us on Fridays on the Sports Bash. Not a Bob and Mike Friday. It's just Josh and Nick and Bob. We're the members of a really bad cover band. They'll be at a bar near you soon. Bob, appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk next week.
All right, guys. Talk soon.
Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Nick, back to the text board. Coming up next, 609-403-0973. The disgruntled people have come out. We already got people complaining. Too much Eagles and Phillies talk. I'll explain why. Coming up next. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw. We're hanging out with you on a Friday edition of the Sports Bash. Don't forget Adam Kaplan, NFL Insider Football at 4. He will join us at 4 p.m. Nick's Nuggets are still to come here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, AP Senior NFL Insider Rob Motti will join us at 5 p.m. All that and more. Happy Hour Friday. Hope everyone's enjoying the day out. I know Shaner in EHT, who's bar crawling through Summers Point. He's enjoying himself. Good job for Shaner. More Sports Bash coming up, 97.3 ESPN.
This is the home of the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles fans, savor it and rejoice.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ALL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text ALL to 321-321. That's ALL to 321-321.
Progressive's Teen Driver discount could lower the cost of insurance for your teenager and save you some money. And then you can still spend money on them. Because just when you think you have a grasp on spending, new sneakers. And then it's money for a school field trip. And of course, spending money. Oh yeah, and a new phone to replace the one they dropped in the toilet. Oh, don't remind me. So just get Progressive's Teen Driver discount. And then you can continue to spend money on them. Endlessly. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states and subject to terms and conditions.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
3 o'clock hour, the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. It's being brought to you by Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys is your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleys.net. So, we've been talking a lot of Phillies, a lot of Eagles, some NFL, Happy Hour Friday. We typically try to give the people what they want, Nick.
True.
And we said we would get back to the text board. But I was unaware that among the messages coming in at 609-403-0973, I'm used to people being like, Keely Ringo stinks. I love Tanner McKee. Like, I haven't seen a single Tanner McKee message today.
Stunning.
Shocking.
He was awesome last night.
People were blowing up Twitter and Instagram. Like, I saw women posting like I love Tanner McKee stuff on their stories. None of that today. Instead, Evan from Little Egg Harbor, he decides, let's throw these guys a curveball. Now, I think Evan in Little Egg Harbor doesn't mean anything maliciously by this.
No.
But I do think that maybe Evan in Little Egg Harbor doesn't know who he's dealing with today. Filling in on the Sports Bash is Josh Hennig and Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill, the world traveler, as Nick calls him, on 97.3 ESPN. Because I can hit the curveball. Nick Earnshaw can hit the curveball.
I'd like to think so. And a changeup every once in a while, too. And a slider like Nick Castellanos can't. Blown away. I can poke it the other way.
I could probably handle the slider better than the changeup.
Just poke it the other way. Just poke it the other way.
Changeup might be a little bit lack of patience for myself. But anyway, Evan Little Egg Harbor chimes in. Josh with 5 exclamation points.
He's yelling at you.
You know what I think is funny? The Giants, or anything Giants related, never get mentioned.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Now, first of all, I'm going to assume, okay? I'm going to assume that what he is referring to, Nick, is the New York Football Giants.
The wine and cheese fans up there in New York. Yes.
So, which, okay, fine. I can work with that. All right? Because I'm assuming he's not talking about the San Francisco Giants, right? Like I think it's a fair assumption.
I mean, yeah, we're pretty local. The Eagles are rivals to the New York Giants. I'd assume it's the New York Football Giants, wine and cheese fans. It's usually what I think about when I hear the Giants.
All right, so I have decided that we are going to oblige, give the people what they want.
You're a good guy, Josh, by the way.
Give me 1 second here. So I'm going to use a countdown timer, okay? We are going to give 60 seconds of Giants talk. When the timer runs out, the New York Giants conversation is done. Okay? Are you okay with that, Nick Earnshaw?
I'm all good with that. That's fine.
Right.
We can talk about the Giants.
So if you're watching on YouTube or X, we are going to put the timer on the screen. If you're watching on the stream, you will literally see a countdown timer. And when the countdown timer is done, the New York Giant conversation is done. All right? Can we handle that, Nick Earnshaw?
Yeah, I can. I got it up on my screen over here, too.
All right. Countdown starts now. So here's the deal, all right? The New York Giants are going to hit the over on the win total this year, and here's why. They are going to be that pest. They are not going to say it because of Evan Lillick, Harvard chimed in. I'm saying it because I've been saying this for months now. That defense is going to be legit. They lost half their games last year, Nick Earnshaw, because their quarterback play was among the worst in the NFL. All right? Quarterback is going to be nowhere as bad as it was last year. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Jackson Dart are all better than everyone on the Giants last year. So just by that and the defense got better this offseason, they're going to be close in a lot of games. In fact, I would venture to say that whatever the line is for almost every Giants game, bet the Giants to cover that spread in almost every game. They will win 6 to 7 games. They'll be a losing team. But at the end of the day, guess what? The New York Football Giants will be okay.
That's it. 60 seconds dedicated to the New York Giants.
There we go.
I love it. Actually,
Evan
I don't,
Lillick
but...
Harbor, that was for you. 609-403-0973. Shader and EHT already chimed and says that was a waste of 60 seconds.
It was. In my estimation, it was. I didn't have to say a word, which was great. But I got to think in my head, wow. Jackson Dart, defense, pretty good. That's all I'll say. But they have no shot. Sorry, Giants fans. Sorry, Evan. No shot.
Yeah.
No shot.
I gave Evan a little something.
There you go.
We'll get back to text board in just a minute. 609. Back to the non-Giant fan at 609-403-0973. I do want to say this, though, about the Eagles game last night. And we haven't really touched on it much, but we'll get into more with Adam Kaplan as well coming up. The Eagles' backup offensive line is probably a starter for most teams, Nick. And I thought one of the biggest takeaways from the game last night was Kendall, the center.
Yeah.
Because remember last January, NFC Championship game, you had to kick Dickerson over to center. Then Dickerson gets injured. And injured Juergens has to come in for the second half. You knew they were going to address the center position in some capacity. But the question about Kendall, I almost called him by his dad, Pete. His dad's name is Pete Kendall. No, not Pete Kendall. The son plays center as the backup center for the Eagles. And there were concerns about, is he undersized? Is he big enough to play center? Well, I think he showed you last night that he is more than capable of doing the job. And I thought there were multiple times that he got into that second level of the defense, especially on the Shipley run. And it showed you that the Eagles actually look like they have a legitimate backup center on their hands.
I agree. And last year, the fact that you had to use Dickerson, slide him over, then Dickerson gets banged up, and you had to bring a hurt Juergens back in. That whole situation was not ideal, to say the least, Josh. Not ideal in the latest sense. And if you could find somebody that could play backup center without having to move a Landon Dickerson, that could strengthen this offensive line. God forbid anything happens to Cam Juergens, because he is sensational as well. Last night, another thing you also saw was a great tush push by that offensive line. You got a tush push touchdown, Tanner McKee scoring it. Josh, I was very impressed, very excited. You saw Jalen Hurts on the sideline on his birthday, laughing it up, seeing the tush push be utilized, and they did a decent job. Was it a perfect tush push? No, but the fact that every single team in the league was probably fuming to see it back again, because it's still legal and it should stay legal, because it's a great play by the Philadelphia Eagles. You have a center, you have a backup quarterback that you can really, really rely on, Josh. You started talking about the center. Tanner McKee text came in. The tush push was awesome last night. I was very excited.
It was a little awkward.
It was awkward, but the fact they ran it and scored, that's all that matters.
Well, that's persistence.
Yeah,
they scored because of persistence.
It worked.
It worked. They stuck with the play. Tim from Summers Point chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, the block by Steen on that first Shipley run last night was beautiful, Tim in Summers Point says. Hey, man, I was a little surprised Steen got as much playing time as he did. I kind of felt like that was the Eagles. I have been critical of the Eagles because I thought this could be more of a competition. They have basically told Tyler Steen, this is your job to lose, Nick.
Yeah. It's his job. It's essentially his job. And he looked great on that block last night. Allowed Will Shipley to bust it for 38 yards. There was something just great about seeing some of these nice plays on the offensive line, to know that, all right, your starters of your offensive line are really good. It's like the best in football, right? And then after that, you have guys that are serviceable behind those guys that you can understand and feel okay if they were to come into a real game. And I was impressed by the offensive line. Steen looked good on that one block. I liked it. I was very impressed by what they brought last night. And, it's the complete opposite of what we talked about earlier in the show with the cornerback 2 situation. The offensive line, sigh of relief a little bit.
I hear you. 609-403-0973. Tarian Galloway says, welcome to the 2026 NFL Draft. The New York Giants are now on the clock.
I love that text. I love it. They'll be drinking some wine, having their different types of cheeses while they're watching the NFL Draft with that number 1 pick with the worst record in football.
I don't think they're going to have the worst
they
record.
won't. I think the defense will be pretty good this year.
I think they're going to win 6-7 games. They're going to be annoying, that pest in the side. I'm telling you, like the Giants, if the Giants win 6 games, they'll be like, would that be 6-11 would be the record. I'd be willing to say they're going to be 9-8 though against the spread.
Okay.
Like they're going to be a team that covers a bunch of lines, and at the end of the season, you're going to be like, wow, that might be the best 6-win team I've ever seen in my life. The team I think is going to have a horrible year, honestly, is I think the Saints are going to be atrocious.
Don't let my brother, whose birthday was yesterday, hear that.
I don't care. I literally told this to... So
they're going to be so bad.
So
Kellen Moore's the head coach, remember.
I don't care. I'll say this to anybody, okay? My friends, Jim and Colleen, they come out to a lot of events, 97.3 ESPN. Their daughter is a huge Saints fan because she actually knows Cam Jordan.
Wow, okay.
And so she's a huge Saints fan. I even told her a couple weeks ago, I was like, your team's going to lose a lot of games this year.
Not looking great.
Not looking great. Between them and the Panthers, not looking great. Colts, they might fall on their face real quick as well.
We can add a little Giants talk into that. Former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones had to come in last night as Anthony Richardson
hurt his finger,
hurt his pinky. Dude, so what is that? What do you make of that situation?
I think the situation is that Shane Steichen might be fired by the end of the year.
Wow, come back?
Because I think the Colts are going to have a rough year. I think they're going to really struggle.
I tend to agree.
I don't know who wins more games, them or the Panthers, but one of them has got to be worse. And if we're projecting who is going to be the top of the NFL draft, I would venture to say the number 1 pick might be the Saints, and number 2 will probably be either the Colts or the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't think the Colts will be a very good team this year. And it looks like Daniel Jones might get a decent amount of playing time with the Colts this year, especially Richardson, because he just can't stay on the field.
No.
I mean, that's really what goes on with him. He just gets hurt so much. I saw a funny tweet. If you guys are familiar with the movie Moneyball, It was a tweet that it said, Billy, this is Anthony Richardson. He has all the physical attributes of an absolutely elite quarterback. He can throw the ball a mile, and he's a great runner. His only defect is he has no idea how to play the position.
Pretty much.
So that's a great breakdown, to say the least. I had a picture of Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt in The Office.
Robbie from Little Lake Harbor chimes in. He agrees with me at 609-403-0973. The New York Giants will play this year will be a lot better. I think New York is going to play games a lot close. They will be close to having a winning record, says Robbie at Little Lake Harbor.
Okay.
BC in Bowers Beach, he chimes in at 609-403-0973. Hello to our friends over there in Delaware. Giants, new QB factory. Go Birds.
Oh, boy.
BC and Bowers Beach.
Oh, boy. Oh, jeez. Not the quarterback factory term. I mean, listen, the Eagles kind of have a little one still going here with Tanner McKee and the way he played last night, Josh. It's exciting. He's not taking over for the Super Bowl MVP, though.
No, he's definitely
No shot.
not. James in Delaware also chimes in at 609-403-0973. Says the Bengals defense is still terrible. Do you believe Tanner McKee can get 13 tush-push touchdowns and 20 passing touchdowns against them?
That's fantastic. Tanner looked great, man. I mean,
he looked good. Okay,
I would go great.
No. Johnny Wilson, Anais Smith, those guys. Who is the other receiver's name? Cooper.
Yeah,
the rookie from Tartland State.
Yeah, but he's put out a good product every time he's gone onto the field. Like me and you were at the Giants game last year.
Good product is different than playing great.
I still think he played great last night.
I
liked what I saw.
He trusted his receivers. They bailed him out a couple of those.
And he looked a little bit more mobile, too.
He did look a little bit more mobile.
And I can't wait to talk to Kaplan about that, because he brought it up on the Inside the Birds post-game show yesterday. And it's something I want to hit on with him about Tanner McKee, because he's looked really good as a backup. The backup spot is his. I mean, you got to wonder, what could you possibly get? He's in his 3rd year. He's got one more year left on his deal.
Yes. Next year, yes.
Yeah. I think with him, I mean, what could you possibly get for him if you're Howie Roseman, right? We're talking about the cornerback 2 position. You throw Tanner McKee in a deal.
I mean, I'm just saying, maybe let him play the rest of the preseason, put up big numbers.
Got a lot of value there.
And then call another team and be like, you need a quarterback? Kellen Moore? How desperate are you to fix your quarterback situation?
I'm just saying. He's got value. He has value.
James from Delaware brings up a good point. The Saints will get another Arch Manning.
Dude, my brother, who is a big Saints fan, I've been here for 2 years. The March for Arch with the New Orleans Saints.
The March for Arch?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's all he says to me. He'll text me randomly. March for Arch. Oh my God. That's how down bad they are down in New Orleans. It's unfortunate, you know?
By the way, on the YouTube and X platforms, we do have a message I want to get to. Jeff from Ocean City chimed in.
Love Jeff.
On the YouTube and X. He says, it appears Nick got higher quality station-issued headsets today.
What? I got my Beats on. These are my personal ones. I have 2. I always bring 2 pairs of headsets with me.
I was just going to say, there is no way that Nick Earnshaw has station-issued headsets.
No way.
Not at this job.
Not at this job.
Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw. We're filling in for Mike Gill. Happy Hour Friday edition of the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. The unsportsmanlike moment of the day is coming up next. Also, more of your texts throughout the shows. Keep them coming. 609-403-0973. Adam Kaplan, Football at 4, coming up in about 15 minutes from now.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave.
Oh, what a beautiful day.
This is regular deodorant.
Ugh, I can't.
Secret Clinical with workout sweat.
Let's run another marathon.
And regular deodorant.
How much more?
Secret is the GOAT because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products are compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Want a boost in and out of the bedroom? Hims has you covered. Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game. Tadalafil for better bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. Put it all together and you've got what you need to turn things all the way up. Getting started is simple. Just go to hims.com/radio to start your free online visit. Through Hims, you can access ED treatments including pills, chews, and more. 100% online. No office visits, no pharmacy lines. Just fill out a simple intake form and a licensed medical provider will determine if treatment's right for you. If prescribed, it ships free and discreetly to your door. Find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio. HIMS.com/RADIO.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The Chiefs would be going for their 4th Super Bowl in a row. And I'm just wondering if at some point that takes a toll on them. If at some point we see the carriage turn into a pumpkin. Not in a they're going to be bad and miss the playoffs type way,
right,
but just it's not the Arrowhead Invitational. It's not Patrick Mahomes wakes up and he's in the AFC Championship game and they automatically go to the Super Bowl.
Is the window expiring on the Kansas City Chiefs? That's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig and Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. As I purposely play Tech 9 in the background, huge Chiefs fan, that Tech 9. But is the Chiefs window expiring? 4 straight Super Bowl appearances almost never happens, Nick Earnshaw. What do you think?
I mean, listen, Patrick Mahomes has been in the AFC Championship game like every year since he's been starting. So, I mean, I don't know if it's expiring, but it's slowing down, in my opinion. I definitely think it's slowing down. I think that the Chiefs aren't that juggernaut anymore, and I think with the Eagles beating them down in the Super Bowl, I think that'll have a rippling effect. Like, they're beatable now. They played in a lot of close games last year, and they could have went either way in a lot of them. So I don't think they're going to be the juggernaut beating everybody, winning by a lot, craziness from Mahomes anymore. I think they'll be still at the top, but they're beatable. I think this is the year you might see someone else in the AFC take that next step.
I think the big key is the other teams have elevated and the Chiefs have downgraded.
Yep.
I don't think the Chiefs have done enough to maintain that stranglehold. I think they've depended way too much on a guy like Mahomes to carry them at times. I think that's part of the problem. At some point, listen, I don't care how great of a quarterback you are. Even Brady lost championships, right? Brady couldn't get to all those appearances himself. They might have to retool this roster offensively. I think defensively they're fine.
Yeah, I think defensively they're okay, but offensively some of those weapons, Travis Kelce's towards the end, right? Like, they're going to have to replace some of those guys, a guy like Travis Kelce. So I think that's where you might take a little bit of a step back. Mahomes will still be really good. It's not saying that, but I think they're a beatable juggernaut now, to say the least.
And that's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash. 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Babu. We got another Happy Hour Friday check-in. Jeff in Ocean City is drinking a Cape May Brewing double IPA Coastal Evacuation. Says a picture of the can.
Wow.
He says Happy Hour Friday has begun. I'm more jealous that he's at the beach than he's drinking, honestly.
That's true. Double whammy there.
It's definitely a double whammy. Coming up on the other side, Adam Kaplan, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Biggest takeaways from Eagles preseason game number 1. That's next on the Sports Bash. Josh and Nick Earnshaw filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, this is Josh Hennig, inviting you to join me this Saturday for Hanging with Hennig, 12 to 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. We will review the Eagles' position battles in the state of the roster after the first preseason game on Thursday night. Plus, the Phillies begin a road trip with a series in Texas this weekend, and we will question what is the best starting lineup to get the most out of this offense. Guests for this Saturday's show include NJ.com Eagles and NFL writer Chris Franklin, along with fantasy football insider Andy McNamara. Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN is sponsored by yesterday's Creekside Tavern, South Jersey's best sports bar in Marmora, Clemic Performance Method in Egg Harbor Township, and Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. That's Hanging with Hennig this Saturday, 12 to 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City, and streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch virtual studio.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. And Football at 4 is being brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort and the Gallery Bar. Booking games. The place to be during football season is inside Ocean Casino. Go to the Gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. It is time for the one and only Adam Kaplan. The Eagles' first preseason game of the 2025 season. And Adam, we can officially say the Philadelphia Eagles have not lost a game on the field since December 2024. How you doing today?
That's right. Good point, Josh. I didn't even think of it that way. But, you know, as preseason games go, as I said on X last night, if you like offense, you probably like this game. And it's pretty remarkable. It really was. And obviously the big story is Tanner McKee, who was just on fire. You know, by the way, the Bengals played 7 of their defensive starters, so it's not like they played a bunch of backups. Although I was surprised that McKee played into the third quarter, but he was simply incredible. But another thing, Josh, I wanted to mention before we go in everything is that the Eagles' offensive line, Steen only played Tyler Steen only played a little bit, but the 4 backups. They got to feel really good. Eagles front office has got to feel really good about what they were able to accomplish last night. I'm pleasantly surprised that Drew Kendall held up, Brett Toth at left guard, Kendall Lamb at left tackle, Matt Pryor at right tackle, and Steen who made a cameo. I mean, they did a phenomenal job against that defense the Bengals put out there.
Hey, Adam, it's Nick. You mentioned Tanner McKee. He was incredible last night. And you mentioned something in the postgame show on Inside the Birds last night, his mobility. Tell me what you noticed about that and what you saw from his game against the Bengals.
Nick, it's really interesting that if you looked at him in 2023, his rookie season, when he didn't really have a good training camp, his preseason was really good, and that got him on the roster. But he was like a statue. One of the knocks on him, because I know people are asking, why did this guy drop in the 6th round? Well, lack of pocket mobility. You know, today's game, they want guys who could run and throw. And he didn't put up big numbers. So, yeah, he had the big arm and a good size, so he's going to get drafted. But there wasn't really anything special about him. And I got to give, through all the coaches that they've had who've worked with him, Kevin Patullo, by the way, has probably worked with him more than anyone because, remember, he's coached quarterbacks. He's been an high-level offensive assistant. Now he's calling a play, so he knows him very well. I thought Patullo, by the way, would just want to drop in there, called a very good game. But on your point, Nick, the sneaky part about him is I'm certainly not going to call him a great athlete, but we saw it in training camp last year, and I was like, wow, what? We'll see if this is real. Then in preseason he tore it up. He moved very well, and he played very well for one half against the Giants. And then you had this preseason game, which is best performance. It's not just the numbers, which are ridiculously great, 20 for 25 with 2 touchdowns. He did take 2 sacks. One of them clearly was not his fault. But he's so in control. He makes great decisions. He thinks quickly. He throws with some anticipation, which means you get the ball to a spot, and you have the pass target go get the football. It was something else last night, guys. I mean, it's just funny because when they drafted him, they didn't really know what they were getting. They knew the Eagles knew what he was as a quarterback, but they were probably not thinking that he'd be their backup quarterback for 2 or 3 years. But he's signed through 2026. I mean, this kid is pretty good. And if we went through the other 31 teams and their backup quarterbacks, he's certainly a top 5 backup quarterback. This kid's got a lot of ability.
Yeah, he looked really good last night, as well as some of the guys in the backfield as well, Shipley and Dillon. What did you notice about them? Shipley had that long run as well from the great block from Tyler Steen. Talk to me about what you noticed from those 2 guys.
Yeah, that was a seal block. Yeah, that's one he's got to be able to make. And Shipley's got that great speed. That's a run that A.J. Dillon's not going to make, although Dillon looked very good. We'll get to him in a minute. The one knock on Shipley, and you probably heard this, you could go to Inside the Birds, folks, if you want to hear a postgame show on pod, or you could hear or watch or listen on YouTube. What I did say, the one issue I have with Shipley is, because this is from scouting, he's not as strong on his lower body, and that showed up on those goal line carries. He's just not strong enough, and I would have liked to have seen Dillon get that goal line work. Of course, McKee wound up getting the tush push for the touchdown, but Shipley's more explosive than Dillon. But boy, Dillon caught some passes. One of them was really nice. He got shut down on one carry, but he had the first carry was 10 yards. He looked good. He answered the question, what would it look like if he had to get tackled? He's all the way back, no question about it. So let's say, guys, let's extrapolate here. What if Barkley couldn't play 1 or 2 games? Shipley is explosive. They could have a really interesting 2-man backfield.
Adam Kaplan, NFL insider at Kaplan NFL, joining us from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. Like, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts. Adam, staying on the offensive side, let's talk about the receivers, because for as much praise as McKee has gotten over the last almost 24 hours, I thought that what we saw from Johnny Wilson and Anais Smith was very, very encouraging to see these guys make legitimate progress. Because in my mind, Adam, and I don't know if it was the same for you, but my mind goes back to when the Eagles, when they drafted back in the day, Quez Watkins and John Hightower, those guys never evolved. They never progressed the way that Wilson and Smith are.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Johnny Wilson, right? So training camp has been uneven. And Jeff pointed this out because he was at the final 2 practices before this game. Wilson's come on a little bit, and what happened was, Josh, and the knock on Johnny Wilson is he's got to be more than a blocking receiver. They didn't draft him just to be able to block, which he's very good at. You're talking about a guy who's over 6'6". There was a play I pointed out before in our show when Mac McWilliams went up against him in training camp last week. It was actually last Sunday, and the ball was short from Kyle McCord, and Wilson just didn't make the effort. And I was like, this is not good. Now, ironically, he had a play like this last night. He made the effort, did a good job. He had a very good game. Obviously, the star of the game is Darius Cooper, who's got a great body for the receiver position. He's really built himself up. He's beefed up. He's over 200 pounds. He's 205 to 210. He snatches the ball. He looked fantastic. Colin Granton had some nice catches. Dotson did a good job. You mentioned Anais Smith with a touchdown catch. Nice. And by the way, what a great punt return. He did a lot of that on his own. That was fantastic.
Adam, one more on the offensive side. We mentioned in passing about the offensive line. I was very impressed with Kendall. For a guy to get to the second level that many times consistently, it really showed you that, the Eagles, it's not just Stoutland University. They got a guy that they might have a legitimate backup center, and maybe we can avoid the NFC Championship game fiasco we had this past year.
Yeah, and you don't want Brett Toast to be that guy. Now, see, Kendall, it really should be a center, not a guard. He could play guard, but he's not built to play guard. So he's son of his dad, Pete Kendall, you might remember, for a couple teams in the NFL, long-time guard center. So, this is a really good sign for him because there were questions physically whether he could handle at this level, but he did a great job. this is one of those things where you go in thinking some things and you see what happens. And overall, I don't know what else you could say about the offense. I mean, by the way, and I know it's a small thing, Dorian Thompson-Robinson threw the ball pretty well. I really liked that 24-yarder where he threw with power. And then Kyle McCord just didn't look comfortable. He had the deflection. That was not a great pass. But, overall, the offense was fantastic. Really nothing to complain about. I don't know what else you could – and by the way, the Bengals played, I believe, 7 of the defensive starters. So you really can't complain that you can't say, oh, they played a bunch of backups. That's not the case.
Adam, I want to switch gears to the defensive side of the ball and Ty Robinson, second-round pick. Listen, Matt Rule has had a lot of really good things to say about him, his college head coach, former Temple coach as well. He had a sack last night. He looked really good. Could he surprise some people and fans this coming year and work his way into the rotation and be an important piece, maybe even later on in the season?
Well, Nick, here's the thing. They traded Thomas Booker, who is their top backup nose tackle. They're kind of light. Honestly, Byron Young didn't play in this game. He's got a minor injury. He's the only player, if you look at they have 5 backup D tackles. He's the only player to play in an NFL game. They used 61. Joe Evans was an undrafted free agent as the backup nose last night. Gabe Hall had a good game last night. He played well. This is a guy who's going to. I got to believe he's going to make the team. He's got great length. He's got his energy. He's doing a good job. And the kid Jacob Sykes has been around a little bit. So look, they're not. Yeah. So Ty Robinson, he could wind up being the first guy off the bench, Nick. To be honest with you, because there's really nobody else right now.
Yeah, he really played well last night. Another guy that had a pretty decent game was Patrick Johnson. He had a sack that was negated by the penalty, but he also deflected a pass that was intercepted. So, what did you notice from Patrick Johnson, from last night's ball game?
Yeah, Patrick Johnson is really a special teams player only. He doesn't figure if he makes a team to play on defense. However, they don't really have Jalen Sun has not developed as a pass rusher yet. I mean, he's very talented, a lot of upside, but he's not developed yet. Nolan Smith is coming back from a pretty significant injury, and I mean he's going to be ready for the season. He's practicing, but he hasn't done it for a full season yet. Ojulari, has not had a great camp. He's paying a good coin. Josh Uche has looked good, not a great pass rusher. He's had one good year as a pass rusher. Powell Ryan is a rookie. Obo Okonkwo is there, and O'Shawn Mathis is a guy that's kind of flashed a little bit. And Patrick Johnson's had some really good moments in training camp, but yeah, he's number 48 for those who are scoring at home. The Eagles wound up cutting him. He was claimed off waivers by the Giants. The Eagles brought him back. He'll have a chance to make the team because he's a good special teams player, but that's one thing to look at is their pass rush. They have enough guys, but I don't know really who's their high-end pass rusher right now.
Adam, I think it was a Freudian slip by Nick Earnshaw there. Nick Earnshaw, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill in the Sports Bash with 97.3 ESPN because we've all been complaining about the cornerback situation. Ringo, Jackson both got cooked multiple times in the game last night. And people are like, oh, well, it's Jamar Chase. Well, some of that to me, Adam, looked like poor discipline, bad footwork. Like, these are guys who should be better than what we saw last night. It was very, very disappointing.
Yeah, and Ringo's got to recognize where he is on the field. But here's the thing, Josh. Well, yeah, he's going against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Well, guess what? Ringo's not competing for a backup job. He's competing to be a starter. So you got to bring your A level. The lower body stiffness showed up in this game a little bit. Stop and starting has not been good for Ringo. That's another issue. We pointed this out now for 3 years. People who ripped us, they obviously know that this is true if you even know anything about football. You can't just rely on length and speed at that position. You got to be able to transition better. And Josh, it hadn't happened. Look, it was really bad last training camp last year. After 1 week, it was over for him. Now, I'll say this about Ringo. He's had some moments in training camp, like some good practice, some not so good. Here's what I think is going to happen. Ja'Cory Bennett, who they traded for, let's see what happens this coming week and see how much work he gets because he's the next guy up here.
Absolutely. Of course, the next Eagles preseason game next Saturday afternoon. And, of course, every Eagles game here in your home for the Eagles in South Jersey on 97.3 ESPN. He's Adam Kaplan, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. Like, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcast. Adam, appreciate you jumping on. Keep up the great work. Enjoy the weekend. I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, guys, thank you. See ya.
And, of course, Football at 4, as always, being brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort and the Gallery Bar Booking Games. That is the place to be this football season inside Ocean Casino. Go to the Gallery, go to Ocean, go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. And Nick, let's review a little bit what we talked about with Adam there, because before we get to the text board at 609-403-0973, at the end there, you heard him mention Jacorian Bennett. We asked the question earlier in the day, our poll question of the day at 973 ESPN. We asked, who is going to be the starting corner? Well, as of right now, we have 0 votes for Adoree Jackson.
0.
0.
Zip.
The leader in the clubhouse was my pick. Not on the roster yet. 41% are going with Bennett, while 9% go with Ringo. So, Nick, it's starting to seem like people are feeling that maybe Howie is getting ready to do some Howie stuff here. Now, Adam did mention Bennett. Bennett is a guy who does have a starting outside corner experience. But are you okay with that? Is Bennett good enough, you think, to do the job, Nick Earnshaw?
I want to give him a shot, at least. You traded for him. You give up Thomas Booker to go out and get him. You had a lot of Raiders people upset that he was traded to Philadelphia. And, there's a lot of talk. Did Howie make another fleece? Did he fleece another GM out there in Vegas? I want to give him a shot. I know Jacorian Bennett was one of the answers on the poll question. He's right there with who's not on the roster yet. So I'm very curious to see what he's got. I would rather see him first before you go out and make another move. If you have to make a move, maybe at the trade deadline this year. If it gets so bad where you're going to have to make a move, that's cool with me too. I would rather go see Jacorian Bennett first before I make another big swing.
A couple texts come in here, 609-403-0973. See what the people have to say about the Eagles. Texter came in, didn't leave their name. Oh, Paul in Maurice River Township. Does Nick Earnshaw know where Maurice River Township is?
Not a clue.
It's actually pretty close to where I live.
Okay, so it's further south.
It's southern end.
Okay.
It's like southwest of here.
We know where I'm based more so in the Camden County area.
Yeah,
I know that in Atlantic County.
Well, I'm the sole survivor living in Cape May County. So Maurice River Township is pretty close to out western Cape May County, out in where I live. Cumberland County,
over
Cape
that
May
way.
County. Yeah. I'm the real South Jersey over here.
Oh, whoa! I'm in South Jersey too. Yeah, I consider that still South Jersey. It's a real South Jersey over in Camden and Atlantic. Come on, Gloucester.
So Paul chimes in and says, "Josh, you said that Tanner McKee, while playing well, was highlighted by 3 receivers playing out of their minds for a preseason game, but still, go Birds," says Pat in Maurice River Township.
Yeah, and listen, it's the first preseason game. It's August. A lot of these guys will not play, right? Like, I fell asleep towards the end of the fourth quarter and was just out, ready to go. Like, the first 3 quarters were really who you wanted to see. I think, Adam brings up an interesting point, especially when it goes to Ty Robinson, I thought today. That he might be the first guy in the rotation off the bench. Like, he might have an integral role. Yeah, Gabe Hall will be in there as well as some other guys. But Ty Robinson and Matt Rules talked very highly about him. There was a quote the other day, like he's talked to scouts, I'm just paraphrasing, about how good he really is. And he feels like the NFL kind of disrespected him a little bit and teams didn't realize how good this guy could be at the next level.
Part of our conversation from the last hour, following up with some text at 609-403-0973. Glenn from Absecon chimes in on the text board. He says, "I know Archie Manning played for the Saints, but something tells me the Manning brain trust isn't going to let Arch go to the Saints. He's going to do what his uncle Eli did." Now, a couple things on that. Number one, I just want to say, the people like to bring up the Eli Manning thing. People forget the real story behind that. It wasn't that Eli was trying to control his destination. It's that they didn't want him going to the Chargers. And I think, I believe history proved them to be right, that the Chargers were not a championship caliber organization. They wanted him to go anywhere but the Chargers. So that was a big reason why they fought for that. The same thing happened with John Elway. they viewed the Colts in '83 as a bad franchise, a poorly run organization. So that's why Elway forced his way out of there. Do we believe the Saints are a poorly run organization, or do we think that they're just having a run of bad luck?
I think it's more of a run of bad luck, in my estimation. Now, what if Anthony Richardson actually could stay healthy? He was playing more so, right? Like, I feel like it's more of a bad luck thing. You know, Andrew Luck retiring, really since then, they haven't been the same. But that was their fault that they didn't go out and get offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of their problem with the whole Andrew Luck thing. And since then, they really just have been bouncing around with different quarterbacks. And they had Phillip Rivers the 1 year, right? So I think that's more so of where the Colts are at. I don't think they're poorly run. I know Jim Irsay passed away this year, so they lose their owner as well. Condolences out to the Irsay family too. But I think the Colts, it's not necessarily that they're poorly run. I think they just had.
Well, I bet back in the
luck.
day they were poorly run. In '83, they had a very bad reputation.
Yeah, and now they're not. I don't think that's the case.
No,
anymore.
what I'm saying is that I'm going to the last two examples that this has happened.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know. To me, the Mannings. There's two separate issues. One, there's a lot of speculation that Arch is going to stay 2 years. That he is not going to come out after this year. That's one part of it. Because he's making a lot of money if he stays in college. He actually could make more money if he stays in college than if he comes to the NFL. So there's that part. Number two, if you are the Mannings, the easiest way to keep him from going to an organization that you don't think well of is to make him sit out a year.
Yeah.
To stay in college, let the cycle play out one more time. Remember, they didn't force Peyton out of Indianapolis. They let him land there.
Yep.
They didn't care. They were fine with it. I don't think that the Saints. Well, I think the Saints are the worst team in football. I don't know if they're going to get Arch Manning. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know either. Are they going to stink for a couple years? Are they going to be marching for a couple more years? The march for Arch? I don't know. I don't know. It's a long time if you're going to have to keep waiting a couple more years for a quarterback.
I will say, Evan from Little Egg Harbor is yelling at me again.
Oh, jeez.
Josh! Exclamation points. The start of the Chiefs' downfall from juggernaut status was the loss of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but they won Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill.
Then that's the thing. I don't point to the Tyreek Hill loss. I point to the deterioration of the offensive line.
True.
To me, when they started not investing in the O-line enough, that was the fall, because they were still a very successful team without Tyreek Hill, because they still had Chris Jones, they still had Travis Kelce, they still had a very, very, very good O-line. The two times the Chiefs have lost Super Bowls has been because their O-line stunk. And frankly, have they really done enough this offseason to really, get it back? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I wouldn't say so. And you saw in the Super Bowl when a good defensive line matches up against that offensive line, Pat Mahomes is going to find himself on the ground, Josh Hennig.
Eagles got that kind of defense, too.
They do.
It helps.
Ty Robinson might be adding to that.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig. We're filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll get to more of your texts throughout the show. But coming on the other side, as always, we have another edition of Nick's Nuggets coming up here on the Sports Bash. Don't forget, Rob Mai from the Associated Press will join us coming up a little bit later as well. 97.3 ESPN Happy Hour Friday. I see more people sending in submissions for the Happy Hour Friday conversation as well. Eagles, Phillies, Happy Hour Friday, and more. It's all on deck here on 97.3 ESPN.
This is the home of the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles.
The Philadelphia Eagles have won Super Bowl 59. They have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
Seems like back to school happens earlier each year.
First day of school coming in hot.
And this year, my kids had massive supply lists.
Folders, notebooks, and pens. Oh, the humanity.
But Staples had everything I needed, with some items just 25 cents.
Watch the small print.
No. My back to school budget was saved by Staples Easy Button.
Everything for school, in stock and as low as 25 cents. Staples.
That was easy.
In store, online, and on the app. In St. 23 while supplies last.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. The Eagles defeated the Cincinnati Bengals Thursday night in their preseason opener 34-27. Jalen Hurts did not play, neither did running back Saquon Barkley. Tanner McKee, he went 20 for 25 for 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, running for 1 more. Darius Cooper and Anais Smith each had touchdown receptions. Smith also had a 46-yard punt return that set up a touchdown. After the game, Nick Sirianni spoke about what he's looking for in these preseason games.
Told the guys, what before the game, in these scenarios, you want to play a clean football game with your fundamentals. You want to play a clean football game with your assignments, right? Knowing what to do. You want to play a clean football game with situational football, which a couple of situations that popped up, we really handled the 2-minute well at the end of the half. And then you just want to see the guys play with relentless effort, and I saw that. I saw that tonight.
Major League Baseball, the Phillies back on the diamond tonight. They're in Arlington to start a 3-game series with the Texas Rangers. It'll be Christopher Sanchez getting the start at 10-3. Merrill Kelly will go for the Rangers. He is 9-6. The Phillies lead the Mets by 2.5 games in the NL East. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. This is a great weather forecast heading into a summer weekend. I hate I have to spoil it with two pieces of bad news. A high risk of dangerous rip currents. The ocean's pull is deceptively strong right now. Also, our next heat wave is on the horizon coming up next week. Clear skies tonight, comfortably cool, low 61. Tomorrow we'll see good sunshine again, some clouds along the coast, high 81, 86 on Sunday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Hello, with Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash. 97.3 ESPN. Mike Gill on a little vacation. But we are here in the 97.3 ESPN studio hanging out with you. Happy Hour Friday. Eagles, preseason game number 1 last night. Phillies with the road trip starting in Texas tonight. We'll get back to your text in just a bit. 609-403-0973. Right now, it's Nick's Nuggets. Brought to you by The Hub. Gear that works as hard as you do. Yes, Nick, The Hub does work as hard as you do.
Yes, they do. And we have an in-studio edition of the Nuggets today, Mr. Josh Hennig.
Yes.
In studio today.
You are live in the flesh.
Live in the flesh, the whole 9. All right, Nugget number 1. We're going to start with the Phillies. They start a 10-game road trip tonight in Texas. But I'll tell you, I don't love when they go to Texas, Josh Hennig, okay, and play the Rangers. They're not very good when they go play the Texas Rangers. The Philadelphia Phillies have lost 10 in a row in Arlington to the Texas Rangers. They haven't won since March 31st, 2014 against the Texas Rangers. So, they've been playing good baseball as of late. You move back the Zach Wheeler start, the injury there, the stiffness in the shoulder, okay. Already a bad omen. So now you're headed into tonight against the Texas Rangers team where you haven't had a lot of success in the past. And I don't feel confident to start this road trip. I feel like over this weekend, we may not be talking very pretty on Monday, to say the least, about this series. Tonight, you do have Christopher Sanchez going up against Merrill Kelly. He's been good this year as well. But I'll tell you, Josh, I'm a little worried. The bad omen is Zach Wheeler. And then the record they've had in Arlington, not so great. 10 in a row they've lost against the Texas Rangers on the road.
Couple things here. One, listen, I have been waffling back and forth on this Wheeler thing. I have been the guy who, I try to understand, there's no structural damage in the shoulder.
Right.
I tend to feel like maybe it's, listen, let you know, Nick, as you get older, because I'm older than you.
You are.
Okay?
That's tough.
I'm about 14 years older than you, I think.
Different generations.
When you get older, sometimes you just wake up in pain. You don't even know why. You go to the doctor or you go to a physical therapist or whatever, and they look at you and they're like, oh, it's just, and then when they tell you, you feel embarrassed because it's so minor, but it hurts more than you expect. You know what I mean?
So I have a lot to look forward to over the next 14 years.
You have a lot to look forward to. But
that's what you're saying.
My point about Wheeler is he's 35 years old. Maybe he's just, he just needs a little extra rest. I don't know. Maybe it just, it's a long baseball season.
It's a bad omen, though. This week going into Texas, he's getting pushed back. I don't love that, and he hasn't looked great his past couple starts. He just hasn't looked like Zach Wheeler.
Maybe he's just tired.
Tired?
He's got a new baby at home. He's not getting enough sleep.
He's stiff. He's stiff in the shoulder. I don't. That doesn't scream
Maybe
great.
he slept wrong.
I know Rob Thompson doesn't sound concerned.
Blanket.
I know they did the imaging and it came back.
Tell his wife to stop
fine.
asking him to hold the baby all the time. Hire a nanny. Do something.
Listen, the Texas Rangers won 2 out of 3. They just beat us. Won a series against the Yankees.
Go find a hypobaric chamber.
You're not as concerned as I am, are you?
I'm not as concerned. Now, the losing 10 straight in Arlington is more fascinating to me because here are the pitchers the Rangers are sending to the mound this weekend, okay? Merrill Kelly tonight, Jacob deGrom tomorrow, Patrick Corbin on Sunday. 2 of those 3 have not pitched well this year.
No.
Specifically Kelly and Corbin.
He's been okay, though. Kelly's been fine.
I think you're being too nice. His ERA is close to 5 at this point. So, look, there should be some runs scored this weekend by the Phillies. The question is, are they going to win the series? I think they win at least 1 game. I think they can win 2, but I think they win at least 1, Nick Earnshaw.
Is this a scheduled loss series for the Phillies? That's my concern. Could this be a scheduled loss? Wheeler getting moved back, etc. It's a long road trip. You got the Reds following this, and the Nationals, and you come back home against the Mariners. Is it just a place where they just find ways to lose and they just don't play well there? That's my concern. Like, it's August. It's the dog days. You've already seen Ranger kind of, it seems like he's been a little tired as of late when he faces the 3rd time around the lineup. That's all I'm saying. Like, this is one of those places where you just can't find a way to win, and this organization hasn't found ways to win in a long time. Even during this fun stretch of Phillies baseball since 2022, they haven't had a lot of success. Didn't they open the season just a couple years ago against Texas?
A couple years ago,
and they didn't fare well there.
By the way, I think the scheduled loss is tomorrow.
Okay, so you think they win tonight?
I think tonight's a coin flip.
Okay, tonight's a coin. I don't know. I think Sanchez will pitch well, though.
I think they can win the game, but it's better to do the Phillies' bats show up.
Yeah, that's my concern. Tonight is a night where the bats take off a little
Tomorrow's the game they lose. So, I looked this up. Against Jacob deGrom, the Phillies, for their careers, if you combine all the hitters, have a career .227 batting average. They have struck out 41% of at-bats against deGrom. Trey Turner alone has 17 strikeouts. JT Realmuto, 12. Bryce Harper, 15.
So do they lose Sunday too, though?
Sunday's a coin flip.
Okay, so you're not confident either, is what I'm hearing.
I'm not as anti and negative as you are.
I'm being negative Nancy today. Negative Nick. Negative
Nick.
Nancy.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I usually am not, but I don't love the history in Texas. Wheeler's the bad omen, getting his start pushed back. I just it's August, the schedule. I'm just a little nervous. I figured I'd put that out there. 10 in a row they have lost in Arlington. All right, Josh.
Listen, I think they win at least 1 game this year, so the losing streak will end.
Okay. All right.
Just not tomorrow. Probably tonight.
All right. Hopefully they don't get swept. Gosh, if they get swept, I'll be really right. I don't want to be right about this one. All right. Moving along. Nugget number 2. Listen, Howie Roseman was on Pardon My Take. Barstool Sports right there. And, they brought up an interesting point that I thought was funny. I don't know if Howie's ever really been asked this. Big Cat asked him, are you essentially a Georgia merchant? Take a listen to what Howie Roseman had to say.
Are you a Georgia merchant?
What does that mean?
You just take players from Georgia. It's like not that hard, Howie.
Well,
that team's good. I'm just going to take all their players.
I went to the University of Florida.
Okay,
so that's
wow.
Can't
beat them. Join them.
I know. So I think from my perspective, it's like when you look at that Georgia defense that won the national championship. That was an unbelievably talented team, and to say like we go into the drafts and say, hey, let's go pick 3 guys from Georgia. Who knows what everyone else is going to do? It's worked out that way, but it's really helped our team because when you have young players on defense, chemistry is important, communication is important, and these guys have played a lot of high-level ball together. And so you have this young group of guys who have already that history together. So some of the learning curve is gone because of that. And it's kind of special to see. It's kind of special to watch, when N'Kobe's playing linebacker and he knows what Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter is going to do and Nolan's going to do. And then he can look back and he sees key. Like it's like they played together for a long time. You get the same benefit that you get from a defense that has been together for 3, 4, 5 years. So it's pretty cool.
All right. So I got a couple takeaways from this because that was the first time I've ever heard that audio. Number 1, Howie makes a great point in that it's not about Georgia as much as it is we want to get players who have shown the ability to be good or great at a high level of competition. It's the idea of, and we've been saying this for years in sports, right? It's the idea of what have you done on your resume to put you in a position to be a prospect? You know, one of the reasons why the Phillies drafted Aaron Nola years ago was because he pitched at LSU in some big games, right? One of the reasons why back in the day, so if you go back to 1999, let me give you all a history lesson real quick. 1999, when the Eagles drafted Donovan McNabb, one of the reasons why Nick Earnshaw, the Eagles, because I don't think you were alive.
No, I was alive.
Were you alive?
Right?
Were you 1 year
No.
old?
No.
1999.
No, I was
NFL
not
draft.
alive.
Yeah.
No, I was not alive.
So
1 year.
So let me bring you back, okay? Come with me, young one, okay? Back in 99, one of the reasons why the Eagles liked McNabb over the other quarterbacks was because McNabb had more starting experience in big games. Tim Couch was like basically a 2-year wonder at Kentucky. And everyone was like, is this guy real or not? Achilles Smith was a guy at Oregon State. And it was like, well, what the bleep is Oregon State? Like, people didn't even know what the Beavers were back then. Cade McNown was an interesting quarterback at UCLA. People were wondering, is he really as good as we think he is? Dante Culpepper, Central Florida. It's not the Central Florida that you know, Nick. This is Central Florida when nobody knew where Central Florida was, except for that was in Central Florida. That's all they knew. So the quarterback class that year was full of a lot of guys with upside, but nobody knew their real potential because they hadn't really done it yet. McNabb was a proven commodity. So Howie's basically explaining to you, and who did Howie learn from? The guys who drafted Donovan McNabb. Bring it full circle for you. Andy Reid, Joe Banner. That's who hired Howie. That's who Howie learned from originally. So all Howie is saying here, Nick, is, listen, I'm looking at guys who have had success. But he's also telling you indirectly, I'm learning from my mistakes. Why did we draft Jalen Reagor? Because the coaches wanted Jalen Reagor. Howie's saying, no, I'm not doing that stuff anymore. I am picking guys who have shown you they are football players, Nick Earnshaw.
Yeah, and just to go along with that, Josh, I think it's important to notice, and what he said, is that these guys have played together for a while now, and they're going to continue to play together for a while, right? And I think if you're an Eagles fan, you have to be thrilled about that. The fact that these guys have played in so many big games at such a young age, and going back to college, but now even in the NFL too. These guys are in their mid-20s, early 20s at this point, and they've played together through all of the highs as well as maybe some lows here and there, but they've played together in those big moments. I think that's so important to how good this defense can be for a while, a long time. And, you got lucky here with those guys falling to you, right? Like Jalen Carter, you get him to fall to you at 9 a couple of years ago. You have Nakobe Dean falling late in the draft to a third-round pick, right? That is huge. The fact that they were so lucky to get these guys and they could play as a cohesive unit, they know their strengths, they know their weaknesses. And when you know someone very well and you're able to bounce off of them, I think that is so important for this Eagles team going forward. The fact that they have guys that have played together for a long time, that shows cohesiveness. And then the fact they've played together in those big moments, I think that's so important going forward for the Eagles during this run and what could make them a sustained winner, hopefully maybe a dynasty at some point, right? That would be great with this team because the guys know each other and have played together for such a long time.
The other part of the conversation that I got to address, okay? We're going to replay the beginning of this audio, and then I'm going to stop it, okay? We need to re-listen to the beginning of this. Okay? And this is where Nick Earnshaw is coming to the conversation, okay? You Gen Zers and your entrapment methods. when it comes to us older folks.
Yeah, but Big Cat's not a Gen Zer, though.
He's acting like one.
But he's using a vernacular.
He's
of a
acting
Gen
like
Zer.
one, okay? Take a listen. Again.
Are you a Georgia merchant?
What does that mean?
You just take players from Georgia. It's like not that hard, Howie.
Well,
It's like that team's good. I'm just going to take all their players.
I went to the University of Florida.
Okay.
So that's
wow.
Can't
beat him. Join him.
I know. So
And now we bleeped that out, obviously, because he said that's messed up. With what that's the dumbed down version. Here's the deal. This is why people like me don't have time for shows like that. Okay? Because us old guys are tired of you guys using language with us and we don't know what you're talking about. And when we try to explain ourselves, then you try to amp it up a little more and ram the thing down our throat. And I'm so happy Howie Roseman said bleep off. Okay? Let me answer the question, okay? Don't get tricky with your words. Don't try to entrap me. Don't tell me if I can't beat him, join him, okay? Howie, good job by you. You didn't get caught saying something dumb. You didn't let someone entrap you. You didn't make a mistake. You didn't let this Gen Z lingo mess you up. You just said, I don't know what that is. Good job by Howie. I'm proud of Howie Roseman.
And can I say, this comes from a soft spot in Josh's heart.
Yes.
Because last night, the fact, Big Cow was using his vernacular, Gen Z vernacular, I should say.
Gen Z vernacular,
Yeah.
yes. Gen Z lingo.
Which he probably shouldn't, but that's another story. Last night, Josh, him and I were texting during the Philadelphia Eagles game, okay? And he had said something to me, and I had responded saying, that's tough. T-U-F-F. And all that means, as someone who's in their 20s, that just means that's cool. That's sick. That's awesome. And you responded what? So the fact that you were so passionate about that today, because he was using that type of vernacular, I know that's coming from a place from last night. As to when I use certain terms around this building with you, I have to explain them all of the time.
Well, not all the time, first of all. A lot. Second of all,
a lot.
I empathize with Howie Roseman. Us older gentlemen, we look young. We look good for our age.
You look good for your age there.
But I mean, Howie and I are older than we look. Howie looks like he hasn't aged past probably 25 years old, right?
Yeah.
And probably me the same. I kind of hit a certain age visually, and my body is still, on the inside hurting. So, but and listen, I know what a lot of these words are. Okay, I know sick.
Did you know what he meant by merchant, by Georgia merchant? When he asked the question, "Are you a Georgia merchant?" Did you understand that phrase?
I theorized that he was inferring that Howie is a guy who just only drafts Georgia players.
Yes. Use context
that he was right. But I still don't like it because I understand how he feels. I understand there's a part of you that doesn't want to say the wrong thing. And this is, Howie probably went through a little bit of the high school stuff that I did. We weren't really part of the in crowd all the time. We weren't part of the cool kids, and so it was one of those deals where it's like, people would say stuff to you to try to entrap you in high school. It's very high school mentality to use this kind of attitude with people to try to trick them into saying something. It's very childish, Nick Earnshaw.
Well, I'll tell you what merchant essentially means in this sense. It means that he relies and utilizes Georgia players and takes them a lot. Like he's gonna rely on them all the time to take a Georgia player. He's gonna just overdo it, essentially. That's essentially what it means.
Well, then the question should have been from, who is that, Big Cat you said?
Yeah.
I can't keep track of these guys. There's too many of them. So what was it, the PMT podcast?
Yes.
Pardon my take? Okay. So I gave per up accreditation here on 97.3 ESPN. We don't steal people's material and then try to sell it off as our own, like some networks do. He should have asked the question, all right, Howie, I got to know, all right? Why are you obsessed with Georgia players? What is it about Georgia that gets you excited on draft night? Why are you obsessed with them? And then I would have played, if I were them, the Obsessed With Me drop from Mariah Carey song back in the day. I think it was Mariah Carey.
I mean, low-key, He is.
Like, I would have turned it into a fun making fun of him. I wouldn't try to entrap him with a word that this 40-some-year-old man has no idea what you're saying.
It's true. The guy asked the question, is a 40-something plus year old man.
Yeah,
too,
but
which is also funny.
there's the difference, okay? And we go on a sidetrack here, okay, on 97.3 ESPN. See, here's the thing that guys like you, actually I can't say not you, intro, other young people don't understand. People like Big Cat has a lot of more time on his hands than the regular average Joe does. His job is to do this. That's all he really does. He's not sitting there, like, for example, those who don't know, Nick Earnshaw has multiple jobs. He doesn't just work here at 97.3 ESPN. He basically has the equivalent of 3 jobs. A guy like me, I work for Town Square Media and 97.3 ESPN, but I basically have the perfunctory function of 5-6 jobs within that job. So guys like us, we don't have time to sit here and learn all the lingo. Now, you learn the lingo
because I grew up with
because you live it.
Yes.
Big Cat knows the lingo because he has nothing else better to do.
I got you going today. I knew I was going to get you on the vernacular with Gen Z because this is something that started last night.
It did, because Nick texted me tough, and I was TUFF. And all I did was send back 2 question marks.
He was so confused. It was fantastic. All right, before I get out of here, because I know we got sidetracked a little bit there with Gen Z lingo, I want to talk about a funny moment from last night. Landon Dickerson's awesome, just to say the least. That's nugget number 3. He photobombed Lane Johnson getting interviewed on the broadcast, eating an Uncrustable, Josh. This was fantastic. I can't think of another way to go into the season with a more funny moment than Landon Dickerson eating an Uncrustable behind Lane Johnson. Now, did you see this happen while you were watching the game last night? I was dying.
Now, I didn't know you were going to bring this up because I'm trying to get the video queued up here for the people watching on YouTube and X. There it is. Okay, let me kind of doing this on the fly here, folks.
It's all good. I thought it was hysterical. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. It just shows how together this team is.
Well, it's absolutely hilarious.
It's great because these guys can joke around. You feel like this team is just so on the same page. And that starts from Lurie at the top, Roseman, and then to Sirianni, having these guys just playing together and being friends together, Josh.
I'm doing a bad job, by the way.
It's okay. It's all
I
right.
clicked the wrong button.
It's okay.
When it comes to putting it on the screen.
I know we got off track, so it's understandable.
Here we go. All right. If you're watching on YouTube and X, so basically you see Landon in the background just stalking Lane Johnson.
Munching.
Eating the Uncrustable. Let me hit the play button. If you're watching on YouTube and X, you can see the camera then zooms over to Landon while eating the Uncrustable very slowly, very deliberately.
Just so done on purpose. It was awesome.
Totally done on purpose.
That's the Nuggets.
It's a good job by you there,
Thank
pulling
you.
that up.
Yeah.
By the way, Landon Dickerson, man of the people.
Man of the people.
Hangs out at coffee shops in Cape May. Goes to local eateries in
Little
Stone
bit of
Harbor.
a TikTok star, too, by the way.
I'm just saying he's a man of the people. He ain't partying like Cooper DeJean is with all the cool kids. Landon Dickerson's hanging out with people like us.
He's a guy.
He's a real guy. He's a bro.
He's a guy.
He's a bro, as they would say in my vernacular. He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill. 5 o'clock hour. Next, Rob Motti joins us.
Back goes McKee. He looks, he pumps, he fires. Complete. Touchdown, Elias Smith.
Right on the numbers. He's got an 8 and a 2 on his shirt. That ball is right between the 8 and the 2.
Told the guys, what before the game, in these scenarios, you want to play a clean football game with your fundamentals. You want to play a clean football game with your assignments, right? Knowing what to do. You want to play a clean football game with situational football, which a couple of situations that popped up, we, really handled the 2-minute well at the end of the half. And then you just want to see the guys play with relentless effort, and I saw that. I saw that tonight.
That was Nick Sirianni last night. After the game, the Eagles win preseason game number 1. And as heard here on 97.3 ESPN, Tanner McKee balled out. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. 5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. Don't miss out on the red tag clearance event going on now at Whitehorse RV. Your RV adventure starts at Whitehorse RV in Williamstown and Galloway. Back to the NFL conversation now. Rob Motti covers the NFL for the Associated Press, senior NFL insider. He is back with us here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you typically hear him on weekends on Hanging with Hennig, but he's kind enough to join us during the week here as we have a Friday edition. I guess this would be officially the first football Friday of this season. Rob, welcome in. How you doing on this Friday?
What's going on, Josh? Happy Football Friday, man.
Last night, obviously, everyone's excited about Tanner McKee, but I love what Sirianni said after the game is that they're trying to focus, Rob, on the stuff that got them to a Super Bowl championship last year. You've heard a lot of players say, hey, what happened last year, we're done with that. We're closing the book on that. And I felt like a lot of guys, Rob, played last night with that kind of effort that Sirianni won. So what does it say to you that even the backups are playing with, as Sirianni calls it, relentless effort?
Oh, I like that. I like the attitude, the approach, what the Eagles are trying to do, what they've been preaching since really early in the offseason, since the OTAs and the mini camps and all that, everything that you've done in the past, and that was a great quote by Jalen Hurts, who's just a great quote machine, whatever I've done in the past isn't going to get me what I desire in the future. And that's true. You're Super Bowl champions. You're defending Super Bowl champions. That means you got a target on your back. Teams are going to be coming after you, gunning for you, but you can't rest on that. And what allows teams to sustain success like the Kansas City Chiefs year after year and the New England Patriots during the Tom Brady era is that hunger, that desire to want to be great every year, to not be satisfied with what you did and what you've done and all of your accomplishments in the past. And I think the Eagles are approaching this the right way. And it's the first test of the preseason. I appreciate the way their effort, the way they went out there. I'm glad they got to face Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and some of the starters on both offense and defense from the Cincinnati Bengals. And that gives their backups a little bit more of a test, obviously a bigger challenge than going against another team's backups and threes and practice squad guys. So it's a great start to the preseason, but of course none of that's going to matter when they line up against the Cowboys in less than a month now to open the season on that Thursday night kickoff.
Well, I'm glad you said it that way, Rob, because we opened the show earlier talking about, I don't really care too much about what the backups did. You know what I mean? Okay, Tanner McKee. Okay, Ty Robinson. Great. But what I was concerned about is what you just pointed out. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, the starters of the Bengals offense, and the backup Bengal players last night, Rob, shredded Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson. Just a few days ago, Rob, Vic Fangio is saying, we got close competition. And then what does Howie do? He trades for Jacorian Bennett, the corner from the Raiders. And after last night, Rob, this feels like we got more Howie season coming because you've covered this team over the years. You remember Ronald Darby. You remember C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You know Howie is not a complacent individual when it comes to roster building, not just in the offseason, but in season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they certainly, Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson didn't separate themselves or show anything last night that would lead you to believe they are going to be an answer at that position. And it's great that Howie was able to go out there and get Jacorian Bennett. And this is a guy who has some upside. But like you said, I don't think he's done. He'll continue to look. He'll look for opportunities to bring in more talent. He'll look for opportunities to bring in someone who can step right in and could potentially be a star. I mean, that's an important position in this division, to be a starting corner, whether you're at the right side and, you look at the depth chart, and that's where they got Adoree Jackson and Keeler Ringo battling for right now, with the receivers that you have to go up against, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin once he gets his situation settled, Deebo Samuel, Malik Neighbors. Like, you're going to face some quality receivers, not just across the league, but twice a year within your own division. And as great as Cooper DeJean was at the nickel spot and Quinyon Mitchell was at one of the corners, you're going to need another guy. And then, God forbid, somebody goes down, one of those two. Like, we talk about Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown being indispensable pieces on the offense. When you look on the defense, Jalen Carter and then Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, like, they got to be the top three that are extremely difficult to replace. And considering you have maybe a little bit more depth on that defensive front, Mitchell and DeJean, you need them for 17 games because you just don't have that depth in the secondary that you had last year.
Hey, Rob, it's Nick. One guy, I want to stay on the defensive side and continue to talk about the effort last night, and you guys mentioned it just a second ago. Jahad Campbell, played 15 snaps last night. I mean, he showed so much fire when he dropped that interception last night, and he was just so upset. You love to see it. He's pushing for a starting spot on this team, and linebacker's been a position that Howie's neglected in the past, not anymore. What did you make of Jahad Campbell's 15-snap performance last night?
I'm just happy he's playing, guys. Like, when he was drafted and he was coming off the injury and then missing early time in the offseason, the fact that he was even out there at the start of training camp was a plus. That he's out there playing last night and playing and showing the effort and the relentless energy that he has. And, yeah, I think I saw somebody describe his reaction to dropping that pick as violently slapping his hands. I think he's going to be violently hitting tackling opponents over the course of the season. So I'm excited just to see him out there, and certainly he had that juice, the adrenaline flowing, first time out there, first-round pick, first exhibition game, at home, local guy, all of that, and he's got a ton of talent, a ton of ability. Let's not forget, if he wasn't coming off that injury, I don't think the Eagles get him where they did in the first round. There was so much talk of him being a top 20 pick, and there was a lot of interest from other teams. I'm in the Tampa area, and I know the Buccaneers had a lot of interest in him, and I think part of the reason why they went a different direction with a wide receiver when they're loaded at that position is the fact that he was coming off the injury. So I think the Eagles got themselves a steal in Jahad Campbell, and I'm excited to see what he can do and happy that he's already out there playing, performing, and just the sky's the limit right now for him.
Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joining us here on 97.3 ESPN at Rob Maaddi on the Twitter X platform. Rob, you mentioned Hurts earlier, and I'm gonna kind of cue you up here because I don't know if you've heard this audio, but we played this yesterday, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about the quarterback position and how people perceive quarterback in the NFL, right? Well, I think when Peyton Manning speaks, right, most people listen, and Peyton Manning said this on the Pro Football Focus podcast. Rob, I want your reaction to what Peyton Manning says about Jillen, because it's one thing for you and I and Nick Earnshaw and all of us to compliment Jillen, but it's another thing for a guy named Peyton Manning to compliment him. Take a listen.
He's played so well in both those Super Bowls, but I like the way he goes about it. He calls me a lot. I'm just, and asked me lots of questions. They actually run a lot of plays that we used to run, Sirianni to Frank Wright to Tom Moore, sort of that chain. And he calls me with very specific questions about certain plays. So he's a student of the game.
Rob, your reaction to that?
I love that he calls Peyton Manning. I mean, absolutely love that. If you're not going to call, if you're going to call two people, it's Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And I'm sure he gets opportunities because Brady does enough Eagles games that he can talk to Tom Brady. But to have that relationship with Peyton Manning, to want to be, as Peyton said, he's a student of the game, to seek out the information, to be as specific and as detailed, that fires me up to hear that. I've said all along, I love how Jalen Hurts approaches the way he has his entire demeanor, playing with that chip on his shoulder, playing with, I got to prove myself constantly, week in and week out. I gave you that quote earlier in this segment, what I posted on I think he said it on Sirius XM, posted it on Twitter X earlier this week. He's just full of these incredible quotes. And I know people get tired of it. He's boring. He's cliched. He's this, he's that, or whatever. He's a winner. First and foremost, he's a winner. He's not full of himself. He's not. What did they say? I've heard this. This was a great quote. Slow success builds character. Fast success leads to ego, builds ego. And he had to go about it slowly and to get success in the NFL. And I think that defines and builds his character. He's a guy who's in it and built for the long haul. He can handle the media in Philly. He can handle the criticism and the spotlight on him. And he's played phenomenally well in 2 Super Bowls. He's the Super Bowl MVP. He's led the Eagles to 2 Super Bowls in the past 3 years. And I don't care that he doesn't get the recognition nationally that he deserves. I actually think that's good because, you know what? I'm sure people are pointing it out to Jalen Hurts, and he's as hungry to win another one and to prove it to people and continue to prove it to people. Like his favorite Bible verse says, you may not know now, but someday you will understand. And he feels like someday people will understand what he's all about, what he's built to do. And when you look at it, when all's said and done, like Jalen Hurts, all right, I'm going to say it because maybe I came back from Canton last week. I still got the gold jacket fever, guys. He's not there now, obviously, but Jalen Hurts is on a path to the Hall of Fame. If he continues to play the way he has played over his first, 5 seasons, right? 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. Over his first 5 seasons, 4 of which is a starter, 4 playoff berths, 2 Super Bowls, 1 Super Bowl MVP. He's on a path to a gold jacket. He's got to do it for another decade, but he's on that path right now.
Rob, if we speak of quarterbacks, I want to know from you because, one of the conversations about the Eagles has to do with their path to a championship. And, the whole situation in the NFC feels like it's in flux because we know who the Eagles are, right? We know, but what is Jaden Daniels in year 2? Matthew Stafford has got a back issue. He's seeing a specialist right now. You look in Dallas, they added a lot of nice pieces, but Micah, if he's not out there, Dak can throw for 5,000 yards. They can only win 7 games. Of the quarterbacks in the NFC, when you look at them, Rob, who is the guy that you say, look, Jalen is the Super Bowl champ, but watch out for this guy?
Jaden Daniels, to me, is a superstar on the rise. And there's been quarterbacks. I'm working on a piece over the next week or two about year 2 quarterbacks, guys who in the past who have either led their team to a division, not a division, but a conference championship or a Super Bowl victory in year 2. And Tom Brady did it. Ben Roethlisberger did it. Names are escaping me right now. Colin Kaepernick went to a Super Bowl in year 2. Brock Purdy went to a Super Bowl in year 2. Jaden Daniels is in year 2. Bo Nix in year 2. Like, these are guys who have that ability to kind of, but yeah, I think it's 4 guys who've won Super Bowls in year 2. Like Jaden Daniels, to me, has the talent, the maturity level, the fact that he played in college 5 years and has that experience. He was able to step right in and play and perform. I think he's got the ability to be a absolute elite superstar for a decade or so. If Dak can stay healthy, he's got some pieces around him. He doesn't have a running game, but I've always liked Dak Prescott and think he's an elite talent who a couple of years ago was a MVP runner-up. Jordan Love is another guy in the NFC. And then, I don't know about Michael Penix yet, but I'll give you a guy, and maybe it's the Tampa homerism in me now, which is crazy to say. I've only been here 4 years, so I'm really a Philly homer. But Baker Mayfield last year had one of the greatest statistical seasons of any quarterback. And I think it was 4th player ever to have 70% completion, 4,500 plus yards, 40 plus touchdowns, 100 plus passer rating. And he's got a ton of talent around him. They got a rookie out of Ohio State in the first round, receiver of Chris Godwin. Like he's got, if they can block for him up front and stay healthy, and Tristan Wirfs is hurt right now as all-pro left tackle, but I think Baker Mayfield's found himself a home where he's going to be an elite quarterback for a few years. So there are some, and then I'm forgetting about Brock Purdy, or I shouldn't forget about Brock Purdy. He's always underrated, and it's possibly because he's got so much talent around him, just like Jalen doesn't get enough credit because they got so much talent around them, but all they do, Jalen, much better than Brock, wins and finds ways to win all the time. So I think it's not quite the names of the AFC, right? When you look at the AFC and you see Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, they got the bigger names in the AFC at the quarterback position, but I think the NFC quarterbacks can hold their own.
Rob, I want to stay in the NFC East, particularly with the Dallas Cowboys. You wrote a piece regarding the Micah Parsons situation today. Where does that stand right now? I know Jerry Jones kind of blew off the trade request from Micah Parsons. Where is that whole situation at?
That's a real interesting one, guy. Someone said to me, I did an interview the other day, and they're like, will Jerry's ego allow him to listen to someone on this Micah Parsons situation and get the deal done? And my answer was, I don't know that there is a person who exists, not just in Dallas, but anywhere, who can have that conversation, an honest conversation with Jerry Jones and say, hey, man, what are you doing? Take care of this guy. He's one of your own. You drafted him. You know he's going to be the highest paid player and highest paid defensive player in NFL history. Just get it done. And the whole nonsense of he was dealing with Micah and he had what he thought was a handshake agreement. Like, it's 2025. What player is going to sign a deal without having his agent look at it? And then Jerry Jones and his ego about, I don't even know who the agent is. Like, how do you not know David Mulligetta, who's one of the top premier agents in the NFL? How do you not know that? You got to know that. And if you don't, like, what are you doing, especially as owner GM? So they can't. And then, like, you feel like it might be getting a little bit personal when he alludes to Micah missing 6 games last year and there was only 4. And he brings up how Emmitt Smith in 1993 sat out the first 2 games and they still won a Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, if Micah Parsons misses the first 2 games, you're not even – like, this isn't a team that's guaranteed a playoff berth. They're in an extremely tough NFC East. They need Micah Parsons out there and ready to go. Like, you don't want this guy sustaining a soft tissue injury early in the season because he missed all of training camp. So the deal's got to get done, and I think Jerry just gets in his own way. I was chatting with Micah a little bit yesterday. I didn't get into this. I had a different conversation with him about other stuff, and it's just, to me, it's disconcerting if you're a Cowboys fan to see your owner going about this the way he is. And I know Dak Prescott said he's confident this will get done. CeeDee Lamb said today he's confident that it's going to get done because both of them have been through it. But Micah's not out there practicing right now. And every day that he's not out there, new defensive coordinator with Matt Eberflus, building that chemistry. Like, I know he's a generational talent, but you need him out there. Just go get the deal done, Jerry. You waited so long on Dak that you made him the first $60 million man in NFL in NFL history in pro sports outside of Shohei. And then you waited so long on Micah that now you got to pay him more than Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt. So that's where you're at. That's what the market dictates. You got to make it happen.
He's Rob Maaddi, AP senior NFL writer and insider. Check him out on the Twitter X platform at Rob Maaddi. All of his coverage at AP News. And, of course, also he's the host of Faith in the Field, heard Saturday and Sunday mornings here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, what do you got on this weekend?
Dominique Easley, who – it's a great story. You'll hear him talk about – he was a first-round pick by the New England Patriots. And at the time he was selected in the first round, dude couldn't even walk. He had been bit by a dog that led to an infection. He hid it from Bill Belichick and everyone else drafting him. So his NFL career didn't pan out, but he's doing great things with his foundation in the mental health space. But I was shocked that someone like Bill Belichick hadn't done their due diligence and drafted a guy in the first round who at the time was injured because he had an infection from a dog bite.
I mean, that in and of itself is the every reason why you need to tune into Faith in the Field tomorrow morning here on 97.3 ESPN. What a story that is. Rob, always appreciate you jumping on. Great stuff, and we'll talk soon.
You got it, brother. Take care.
Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. The 5 o'clock hour is being brought to you by White Horse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. Don't miss out on the Red Tag clearance event going on now at White Horse RV. Your RV adventure starts at White Horse RV in Williamstown and Galloway. All right, we'll check out the text board coming up on the other side. 609-403-0973. I see Ray from EHT time chiming in. Plus, the Phillies lineup is out, and I think it's fair to say Nick Earnshaw is not happy. Neither am I. So we'll get into that as well coming up as well. Happy Hour Friday. Eagles preseason game 1. Phillies start the road trip in Texas. All that and more still to come. Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. Now, for those who don't know, Nuggets is a big fan of this artist. But I also picked this song for a reason. Because this song by Future describes how I feel about the Phillies lineup.
How do you feel, Josh?
I don't know if the Phillies lineup is doing a good job at paying rent, if you know what I mean.
Rent money. Future Hendrix. This is off his self-titled album. Came out in 2017. I know way too much about this artist.
Now, did you think I had this in my bag?
I don't think I did. This is like deep. This is a little bit of a deep cut.
Listen,
from Future.
I don't know what tough means, but I know some music. Okay,
yeah, Rent Money. So it's the intro to that album. So yeah,
Phillies lineup.
And this is definitely a song I'd listen to after seeing the Phillies lineup today and how it is. It makes me want to run through a brick wall in a good way and sometimes in a bad way.
Phillies lineup today brought to you by Instant Services, South Jersey's premier HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service provider. Go to instantservices.com to learn about their preventative maintenance memberships and how they can keep your systems running strong year round. Not a fan of this lineup. Now, listen, I get it. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Realmuto. That's your top four. Get it. Castellanos at 5. Understandable. No Bohm right now. Marsh at 6. He's batting .302 since the beginning of May. He deserves to be in the lineup. Like, you can argue Marsh could probably be higher. Maybe you put Marsh ahead of Castellanos. But then there's the abomination, Max Kepler. Why do we have two lefties back-to-back? Number one, you could have Marsh at 5, Castellanos 6, and then Kepler 7. Kemp at 3rd, as he should be. Stott at 2nd, predictable. But Kemp, I get it. Kepler, not so much. A buddy of mine calls him the crippler. Max Kepler. Because this guy has been given so many opportunities by this franchise. I don't understand it, Nick Earnshaw.
I don't get it either. I know he had the good game the other night.
Good game.
A good game. He hit his first double since June 13th. Had a home run as well. Fine. And Bob brought it up earlier in our Josh, Nick, and Bob Friday baseball chat. I wouldn't mind seeing him as a bat coming off the bench in a playoff game. But that's the problem. They will not make him a bench-specific player.
Right.
That should be his role. He should come off the bench when you need a pinch hitter, and that's it. He's a decent fielder. If you need to put him in late in the game, fine, whatever. But there should be no platoon with Max Kepler. He is a bench piece solely. An expensive one, but you have to eat the money anyway. So that's what I would do with Max Kepler, because they're probably not going to DFA him. That's just probably not realistic. We know the promises Rob Thompson likes to make, and Dave Dombrowski is stubborn and doesn't want to get rid of the guy because he paid a lot of money for him in the offseason. So if he could be a bench piece, slug a little bit off the bench in a postseason game where you need a left-handed hitter, fine. I can handle that. But the stupidity of this platoon drives me up a wall. And that's why I would listen to Rent Money, because I would get so angry it would have to calm me down a little bit. It should be Bader in center. He hits righties just as good as lefties. Better, honestly.
He actually is righties better than lefties.
He should be in center. Left, you should have Marsh and Kemp. Now, I know that Bohm still isn't back, but that is your outfield right there. Put Sosa at 3rd. I don't care. Kepler should not be in the lineup. I'm sorry. He has not been good enough. And a serious baseball team, the local baseball team, which is the Philadelphia Phillies, should not have Kepler in the lineup. And I'll stand by that. He could hit another home run tonight. I don't care. He could be the hero to finally break the streak in Texas, Josh. I don't care. He should not be in the lineup. He had those comments earlier in the season where he complained about not playing every day. Well, he didn't earn playing every day, especially now that we're in August. It's August 8th now, and I still don't think he should even has earned a platoon at this point. Okay? He should be coming off of the bench. That's fine. But he's not even a platoon player this year. He hasn't earned it. He hasn't shown me anything. It hasn't been enough. And the fact, I was just so upset. I texted in my family group chat the other day. I was like, oh no, when he hit the home run, because now they're going to believe in the guy right now. I just don't. I want to see the guy do well. I just don't think the consistency is there based upon the other talent you have on this team. There's my diatribe, Josh Hennig.
Do you feel better?
No, because he's in the lineup. Sorry. I mean, he just has, and he seems like a nice guy. He does. I really commend him for what he said the other night and being vulnerable, and it's been tough on him. Great. You're trying to win a World Series this year. Time is ticking on this core. I don't have to. I don't. You don't need to make promises to guys like Max Kepler. I'm sorry. I don't feel bad.
Well, I mean, that goes back to the problem I keep having with the Phillies, which is the stubbornness. We paid this guy $10 million. It's like, well, it's not my fault.
So
you made a
move.
mistake.
I didn't love this move.
People
from the
spend
start.
money on stuff incorrectly all the time. You think people don't spend too much money on something they shouldn't have? We've all done that.
I mean, he hasn't really been.
But we don't keep it in the house.
He hasn't been the same player since before COVID.
His best year was 2019.
Yeah. That's when he was hitting for real power and a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
That was 6 years ago.
Yes.
I don't know. Am I crazy? 609-403-0973 to not want to see Max Kepler even platoon. Am I crazy? 609-403-0973.
Well, we do have a couple other texts to get to, but again, the Phillies lineup today has been brought to you by Instant Services, South Jersey's premier HVAC, plumbing, and electrical services provider. Go to instantservices.com to learn about their preventative maintenance memberships. Now they can keep your system running year-round. By the way, Christopher Sanchez tonight will be taking on Merrill Kelly. Yes, the same Merrill Kelly who used to pitch for the Diamondbacks, for those who might be wondering, Nick.
So prior to today's game, Paul Casella, reporter and producer for MLB, covering the Phillies, he added a couple of Phillies notes on Twitter. So here are some of the reports on some of the guys that are going to be coming up, coming back from injury, etc. David Robertson is expected to join the team Sunday. Zach Wheeler is feeling...
hold on. So if he's coming in Sunday, I'm assuming Alan Engel is going to go down then. Right?
I'd assume so, yes. That is what would probably happen. All right. Next note. Zach Wheeler is feeling better, is still expected to start on Sunday as well.
Sounds about right.
So he's in a good spot. Alec Boehm will begin his rehab assignment on Sunday this week. So a lot going on Sunday this week.
Finally we get Boehm doing something.
Boehm's going to be starting his rehab assignment this Sunday. And then Aaron Nola will start for Lehigh Valley on Tuesday, then could return after that. That is per Paul Casella from MLB, covering MLB and the Phillies.
I think the biggest news of that was Alec Boehm.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard anyone talk about him in like weeks.
I know. We kind of just mentioned him in passing, right? Like, I know he's out, and then Kemp, and et cetera. Like, I feel like when we talk about him in conversation, so that's big news that Boehm is on the track of coming back to the big club from injury. Nola as well. You're going to see Robertson really soon. And then Wheeler still on track to start on Sunday. So some good things, I guess. The Robertson thing's crazy to me. I just don't know where they're going to use him. Like, how high leverage are they going to trust a 40-year-old David Robertson who really doesn't throw that hard? And he's coming off of the street. He hasn't played this year until he got to the minor leagues, and they sent him down to get going a little bit. So I'm very curious. This whole bullpen thing is going to be fascinating heading into September, heading into the Red October. I'm very curious to see how that really shakes out, what his role is going to be. Because then you have Alvarado in the mix, and the starter for the postseason is going to go to the bullpen. What do you do with Taijuan Walker? That was a point you mentioned earlier, Josh. Like, those are massive decisions, and are the Phillies equipped to handle it? Can Rob Thompson get it correct in the midst of a game?
Can I just correct you on one thing?
Yeah.
It's not Rob Thompson.
It's Dave Dombrowski.
It's Caleb Kaufman.
It's Cotham, yeah, because he is the one who
He's
really decides.
He's supposed to be in charge,
Yeah,
right?
he
He is to the Phillies pitching staff what Vic
True.
Fangio is to the Eagles defense.
It's a good point by you.
Okay? I need Caleb to do his job. You're the man in charge. When Luzardo walks two guys in an inning, get off your butt and walk out to the mound and have a conversation. It's not that hard.
Do we need Rob to put his foot down, though, sometimes? He's the manager.
Well, and this is where I don't know all the relationship dynamics.
Right.
So I don't want to project. Like, maybe I need Rob to talk to his pitching coach a little more often. Maybe I do need Rob to be a little more assertive at times, okay? But I don't... Are there times that Rob does say something? We don't have the camera on them 24/7. You know, Are there times that maybe Rob does say something and Cotham says, nope, he's fine. You got to trust me. And Rob says, okay, I'll trust you. Like, you know, is there a point in time where Rob does say something and the pitching coach turns to him and maybe it's kind of like, remember last year when Sirianni made the comment about how, like, you know, hey, you know, sometimes I'll say something to Vic Fangio in a game, and then Fangio got asked about it later, and Fangio is like, well, he ain't calling the plays. He just kind of tells me he has an idea or a thought, and we have a conversation about it, but he's not calling plays. Like, because, you know, Sirianni made it sound like he has input in the defensive game plan because he's the head coach, but then Fangio pushed back and was like, look, we have conversations all the time, but he ain't calling plays. Okay, let's not get into it. So, like, is there maybe a similar relationship where Rob Thompson, he may tell Caleb Cotham, this is what I think we should do, but then Caleb's like, hey man, my job is to run the pitching staff. Don't tell me what to do.
That's not a bad theory. I think that's probably a decent comp from the information we have about how the Phillies handle things and who handles the rotation, who comes in and out of the bullpen, etc. So I don't think that's a bad theory. But it's a lot to juggle because there's a lot of unknown there. That's the thing. It's because there's a lot of unknown with David Robertson, okay? And then with the starting rotation, you're going to have to cut that down. How are they going to fare in the postseason, just coming in for an inning or so or a different pocket that we have talked about at length? So that is where it gets very interesting with all the juggling heading into September of the rotation. I'm fascinated to see how it shakes out, Josh, because it's relatively unknown. It's going to be different from October to September because of the Alvarado factor. If you had Alvarado and then Johan Duran, 8th, 9th, I mean, that's beautiful. That's lovely. I enjoy that. That's fantastic. But, I mean, you don't have it this year. I mean, next year it's going to be a nice little, what was it called with Lidge? The bridge to Lidge. That's a nice little bridge right there. But you don't have that this year with Alvarado. You're going to have to use the Stroms, the Robertsons, the Kirkerings. They have to step up. I'm just curious to see how it all shakes out. That's all.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, I did want to get to Ray and EHT's text about the Eagles. I brought up a very interesting point that we have not mentioned yet here on 97.3 ESPN. Plus, we will wrap up football Friday. Yes, we have football in our lives, Nick Earnshaw. Also, let's not overlook, it's Happy Hour Friday
it is
as well. I do
Friday.
have one more Happy Hour Friday entry to get to as well. All that and more is still to come. 609-403-0973 is the text board. We are streaming live on YouTube and X. He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig. One more segment of us filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. 5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by White Horse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. Don't miss out on the Red Tag Clearance event going on now at White Horse RV. Your RV adventure starts at White Horse RV in Williamstown and Galloway. He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Just to remind everybody, give everybody the news about Dave Robertson again. So he's expected to be here Sunday.
Yes. So according to Rob Thompson, I believe it was during a media gaggle. I know everyone loves that word. I know,
gaggle.
The PG, I think, loved that word on Wednesday when I used it. I got some funny vocab words in my my arsenal over here. Yeah, so Dave Robertson, according to Thompson, if he feels good, will be on the Phillies roster and join them on Sunday. So that's where we're at with that. And then Boehm's going to start a rehab assignment Sunday as well. So Sunday's a big day, to say the least. And Zach Wheeler seemingly still on track to start on Sunday.
Good news overall there.
Yeah, it's all good. You know, David Robertson just doesn't excite me. I feel like they could have made another move at the deadline. Didn't you?
They could have, but
to add just another arm.
I think the problem is, and before we get to the Eagles thing, really quick, I've been saying for months, Nick, that I think the Phillies have overvalued their prospects. I think there's a lot of people around baseball who don't look at the Phillies prospects the same way they do.
Well, it's very top-heavy, their pipeline.
Well, the other problem is that, like, for example, Alex McFarland is a guy that a lot of people were interested in.
Yeah.
And I think that the Phillies misinterpreted people's interest in him, and they overvalued him.
Yep.
Because, like, for example, Baseball America, I think he was the 21st prospect at the time of the last ranking. MLB Pipeline, I think he was 24 or 23. So, like, the general consensus was he was a top 25, maybe not top 10. I think the Phillies valued him closer to 10, and there was a gap there. So
yeah.
That's kind of what I mean, where they probably might have gotten to be able to get more, but their overvaluation of some of their guys probably held them back.
Listen, the positive of Robertson is that he's been there. This is his third stint with the Phillies. He's pitched in big games before. It seems like he's got enough in the tank. There was a lot of teams that got to watch him pitch, and the Phillies were the ones who signed him. But remember, he's 40 years of age, and he doesn't have the strong velo. He never really did.
No.
But it's low 90s, which where he'll hang. You just got to command, and hopefully he can do that.
All right, before we get out of here, I want to get to Ray and EHC because he brought up an interesting comment. He says, the Eagles looked great last night, even for a second-string team. McKee was unbelievable. He could be a starter for numerous other NFL teams. I love football season. I'm sorry, I got nothing to bash the Eagles about other than thank God we got rid of C.J. Gardner-Johnson because he would have just gotten injured in camp. We dodged a bullet there. So for those who didn't see, last night, Kenyon Green, who got injured, hours after C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they were traded for each other, himself got injured. Now, C.J. is not going to be out for the whole season. Apparently, he does not have any major damage but to his knee. Kind of wild, though, that the two guys who traded for each other yesterday, Nick, both got injured within like 4 hours of each other.
In the same day. Yeah, it's crazy. The whole CJ-GJ thing, it seemed like things were okay when they got their Super Bowl ring, so I think relationships were fine, to say the least. But he's no longer here, and that's that.
Well, listen, if you're someone who went and saw that interview with him on the Pivot,
yep,
like I couldn't watch it anymore. Like I got through maybe like 50 minutes of it, and I was like, I am done with this guy. This guy is very disconnected from reality. So I'm glad he's not here.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you're not a big CJ-GJ guy. There was a lot of social media pictures from the ring ceremony. So I guess things are okay with his relationship.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Nick, thanks for being here today.
No problem.
You will be Monday. Ocean Casino Resort, UMPG, filling in on the Sports Bash. Ocean Casino at the Gallery, bar booking games. Tomorrow you will be with Billy Schweim in the locker room down in Wildwood. You, Dave Clemick, and Billy at the BFL at the Wildwood Beach. I'm Josh Hennig. I'll be back tomorrow for Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, this is Josh Hennig, inviting you to join me this Saturday for Hanging with Hennig, 12 to 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. We will review the Eagles' position battles in the state of the roster after the first preseason game on Thursday night. Plus, the Phillies begin a road trip with a series in Texas this weekend, and we will question what is the best starting lineup to get the most out of this offense. Guests for this Saturday's show include NJ.com Eagles and NFL writer Chris Franklin, along with fantasy football insider Andy McNamara. Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN is sponsored by yesterday's Creekside Tavern, South Jersey's best sports bar in Marmora, Clemic Performance Method in Egg Harbor Township, and Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. That's Hanging with Hennig this Saturday, 12 to 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea City, and streaming live on YouTube and X in the Dr. Squatch Virtual Studio.